Hey everyone, welcome to Mouths of the Merrimack. I'm Captain Chris here with
Dan Diodati.
and we have a great show tonight. We've been waiting all year to get this guy
I feel like you've been waiting your whole life for this.
I have. I've been texting Dan. I'm like, we got him coming this week.
Yep.
So, our good friend, one of the guys, one of the charter guides up around this area that for years I looked up to. You guys, some of the old timers in our group here might remember Mr. Nat Moody from First Light Anglers. How's it going, Nat?
It's going pretty well.
Thank you for coming out.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, man. So, how have you been?
I've been all right.
Yeah?
Been all right, yep.
Great. So, Nat, I don't even know where to begin with you because I know a lot of the guys that used to come to the shop listen to our podcast and stuff. And one of the things when I was growing up in the fishing world as a kid in high school and college, you guys at First Light Anglers just had that tuna bite dialed in before anybody was really doing it. You had a great shop. I love going in, hanging out. Half the time I didn't talk because I was so friggin' nervous. And I was just going in and kind of getting the whole scene, So can you just give us a little bit of your background growing up and what steps you took and how you ended up becoming a charter captain, shop owner, and from there?
Sure, absolutely. I've been fishing forever. My father's pretty fanatical. So I grew up surf casting. So we would leave Friday nights from Beverly, drive the jacked up Blazer down to the Cape. We'd surf fish all night. Friday night, all night, Saturday night. We'd fish the canal Sunday on the way home, come back Sunday night. And we did that every weekend as long as I can remember until, I guess it was, 82? We bought a Lund and threw it in the Essex River. And then we were ruined on driving all the way to the Cape and surfing.
That's all it takes, right?
But that was back in the day where you caught, 140-pound bass a year and 2 schoolies.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Bluefish the whole time. But so it started there. I've been fishing forever. Freshwater, saltwater, everything else. But I was out in Colorado in college, decided to come back, finish my college at Emerson in Boston, and I was working in a boatyard in Manchester, Summers, and they needed a launch driver. So he said, hey, if you're willing to get your captain's license, we'll pay for the whole thing, and you can run the launch for us next year.
What a deal.
It was great. Yeah. So that was, I got my license spring of 95, and we opened the shop February of 96 in Manchester. We were there for a while before we moved up to Raleigh.
There was a shop in Manchester prior.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yep.
How long was it there for?
Well, it was 10 years anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, we had First Light for 19 years running.
Oh, okay.
This will be my 28th season of chartering.
Yeah. Still feeling it?
Yeah, still wake up before my alarm, which I think
that's a good
sign,
right?
But really looking forward to getting back out there for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Now, let's go. I want to go back. When you said when you first started fishing, there wasn't many stripers around. That was kind of before I started getting into fishing. So, what would you do? What would you fish for in those times?
So, daytime, we'd go rake fresh sand eels.
Yeah.
And then we'd high-low rig sand eels off the beach all night long.
Oh, no kidding.
And then you'd have a plug-and rod or an eel rod or something else with you if you felt like doing it. But literally sitting there, sand spikes and dead sand eels, you hook them upside down on the high or low rig and sit there and wait.
No shit.
My dad got to know Frank Daniel way back in the day. That was like 77, 78. So we would follow Frank around when we wanted to get on the good plug bites. Frank was commercial bass fishing from the beach from his truck. But somehow he and my dad hit it off, and we ended up spending a bunch of time with him driving the whole other Cape. And at that point, you could drive Race Point to Chatham all the way.
Right on the beach?
The whole outside of the beach was open. And my mom's an artist, and they'd be awake all day doing stuff on the beach, and Dad and I would fish all night and go to sleep all day in the truck.
Yeah. What a perfect combo that is.
That was good. It was good. That was a good way to grow up for sure.
So high-low and sand eels, that's something, you don't hear that too often these days.
I'm sure it still works.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't even hear many people. I know up by us, like back in the day, we used to get sand eel chum for mackerel. And It was like the best chum.
Absolutely.
And now nobody sells it. Nobody. I think there's only a couple permits, and those guys don't even do it.
Yeah, there's really no market for it.
Yeah. It's crazy how things change.
Yep.
So what would you catch on those? Stripers?
Stripes and bluefish.
Bluefish, yeah. I heard back in the day, like in those days, the bluefish were kind of everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah. And when we first started fishing up here, early 80s, that was pretty much all you had.
Yeah.
Pogies everywhere, and you'd go snag pogies and live line for bluefish and that was sort of all you did. And
I remember when we first had our big school of pogies first show up, probably like 7 years ago now.
Yep.
Like those days where the whole beaches were covered in pogies. And I remember when they first came, all the old timers were like, we're going to get 1 million bluefish.
yeah.
And we never did. I had literally maybe 20 minutes of bluefish that season.
Yeah.
All in one like tight little bite, and then that was it.
It's been strange. You hit a little window of them every now and then, but it's not like you're finding bluefish mixed in with the bass.
No, it's like kind of more one or the other. This past year it was a little mixed in, but we were definitely targeting at that time bluefish, and we'd still get a few stripers. Or we do like the early morning first, like get our stripers, get our fix, and then around 8 or 9 go troll around for blues. So, yeah.
No, it changes every year. You never really know what's coming.
Isn't it insane? Like, we don't have a lot of species here, but the fishery changes quite often.
Constantly.
Constantly. There's always one little knack or one little trick or one little factor, and comes into play. And it seems like that factor kind of changes within the season, but also season to season.
Absolutely, and bigger bodies of fish. You're not picking away at onesie twosie stuff anymore. You get on a wad of fish, and it's a wad of big fish.
Yeah, especially with the big fish.
Yep,
it's
been really interesting, and that's a lot of times it's like a mile away from where it was the week before, or it's a mile. That spot is a mile different. I don't know why than it was the season before. As soon as you figure it out, you got it.
Yep.
And it stays pretty consistent for the rest of the year, but. It varies a lot these days.
It really does. And like going back to the big fish, I feel like, earlier when I started fishing when I was younger, things were a little more spread out. Like you could catch fish kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
Where, like you said, now you have to find them, but once you find them, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
we still do the resident bass thing down on the south side of Cape Ann and the rocks. I mean, there's spots where fish live every single day, and you can go work over a little school of fish and get a couple of bites here and a couple of bites there. But up here on the beach side, it's definitely big groups of fish and not a lot in between them.
It's so hot or cold because 2 years ago, the bite off the beach was actually pretty much every year there's at least some bite off the beach. But this past season, I felt like I fished as little on the beach as I ever have.
Yeah, I didn't find it all that great this year.
No, we would pull out, we might get one or two big ones, but then it was just like, all right, let's go do something else.
Yeah.
So I felt like we were probably at a 50% rate of hitting a 40-inch bass, but it was few and far between,
Yeah, on the front of the beach for sure.
Yeah, and especially with how much time we were spending getting mackerel this year, because we had tuna, whales, stripers offshore kind of pushing the mackerel around, so it was kind of annoying you couldn't really just load up your 100 baits for the day.
Yep.
You had to kind of work for it a little bit. So for us making that run down the beach while running other places to get mackerel, it was a lot
of time running.
Yeah, just a lot of time running that we're used to.
Yeah, I found a lot more big groups of big fish in weird places this year, places I've never found them.
Yeah.
Deeper water.
Yeah.
And, within 3 miles of the beach, but it just is some random tide line. And you go out there and you catch 40 bass over 40 inches on SP minnows in a morning. It'd just be insane. And then you go back the next day and there'd be nothing. And you go back the next day and there'd be 1 million fish there again.
That's so weird about the deep water, because we've been talking about that this year too. Mm-hmm. It's just that was another resurgence. I haven't fished in the deep water in 8 or 9 years, consistently, at least charter fishing,
Yep.
So that was good that we saw that, but same thing that you were saying. We were finding tide lines where the fish were.
Yep.
And every day it changed.
Yep.
So.
No, it's been interesting. It keeps you on your toes, keeps it interesting.
It definitely does keep it fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I know you were a big bass guy. Were you a big fly fisherman too growing up?
Always, yeah.
Yeah, especially out in Colorado. I'm assuming
Colorado
you did a lot of
bit,
fishing there.
yep. I think I went to the Orvis fly fishing school when I was 5.
Yeah.
And did a lot of trout fishing here. And then Colorado, obviously. I did Colorado, Montana, Wyoming for a couple of years.
Oh, nice. So what were you going out there for? Trout?
All trout.
Salmon?
Yeah. College, all trout fishing.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Doing cool projects out there. I did a program through University of Montana where there was a Wild and Scenic Rivers Act designation that came out, and part of our college curriculum was we had to determine the fish populations in all of the major rivers in the state of Montana. So a group of 8 of us traveled around, and I was the only one who knew how to fish.
Nat Moody came along. That population went way down.
I basically fished for a summer for college credit. It was fantastic.
Oh.
But all trout out there. And I loved it out there, but I always got the sense you go back to the same river and you kind of catch the same fish out from behind the same rock.
Yeah.
And, so the freshwater fish. I was largemouth and pickerel fishing all day today, and it was a blast. But the freshwater trout stuff was always great, but I always had a thing for the salt. And we'd go down and we'd fish tarpon. Dad always loved tarpon fly fishing, so we'd do the Keys and we'd do Boca Grande. And we'd,
Nice.
lucky enough to travel a bunch and do bone fishing, a lot of permit fishing in Mexico and a lot of that stuff. So yeah, fly fishing on my own, if I'm not chartering, I would say is 80% of what I do. But
no kidding.
I would say charters. When I first started fishing, I bet I was 75 to 80% fly fishing charters for stripers, and I bet now it's 20%. There's only so many guys that you can take out. It's a little windy. Why don't you throw this mackerel over the side and see what happens? And pretty soon they don't even bring their fly.
Let's just catch them.
Yeah, that's how it normally works. Yeah, that's kind of weird. That fly fishing thing, even around us and up in Newburyport, you're seeing less and less of it as the years go on. Yeah. I don't know if it's just a function as, people are having a hard time catching fish and staying engaged, or like there's a lot of work to get good at it too.
Absolutely.
And with today's like internet meme thing, like are younger people really putting in the time to master that art?
I don't think so.
Or do they just want to get a fish and move on?
Yeah.
I probably fall in that category because I never caught a fish in the fly my entire life, but it's just never interested me.
Yeah. No, there were a lot of years there early on when, late 90s when we would run all the way from Gloucester to Joppa and fish Joppa for the outgoing tide.
Yeah.
And there'd be 40 guys out there in skiffs fly fishing.
Yeah. Nowadays you'll see like 3 maybe on a good day fly fishing.
I don't know. I'm getting wicked boatophobic as I get on and on. So I don't go anywhere near crowds anymore. I can't take it. I won't go fish that big Boston feed unless it's someplace I can get a little piece of it myself. And, more and more I find myself hiding.
How much nicer is it though? Especially like finding a bite away from everybody. It's just like the ultimate.
Yeah, I can't. It's old and curmudgeon-y, but I can't deal with the people. I really can't.
I can't even imagine the shit show that's going on in Boston these days.
It's a mess, and it's legit. I mean, the fishery is insane, but it's 50 boats on one school of pokies, and everyone's casting and snagging pokies and crossing lines, running each other's lines over, and hooking fish and breaking them off on other people's boats. Like, no, it's not worth it.
How far of a ride is that from Gloucester for you if you wanted to fish that bite?
It's quick, 18 miles.
18, so that's not too bad. Yeah.
And the bait spot's directly between the harbor and there, so it's a doable.
Yeah.
But I prefer to find it somewhere else.
See, what's nice is like if you want to fish Boston, you got like that 18-mile straight track. If I want to go fish like the southern side of Thatcher's, that's 18 miles, but I'm going around Cape Ann, and that's always like an iffy. You never know what that weather's going to turn like out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The prevailing southwest, it's a little crappy outside of Thatcher.
Gets a little snippy out there, that's for sure. Yeah. So, all right. So we're talking about fly fishing. We're talking about bass fishing here, but you were running a shop and chartering at the prime time of when we started to get these little football tunas around.
Oh, yeah.
The pinnacle of the fishing up here in the Northeast.
Yep.
How did you get involved? Like I'm assuming you were guiding inshore at that time.
Yep.
Right? How'd you evolve into that spin tuna game before it was jigging and bopping?
Before it had a label. We were running in from giant fishing. It must have been 08, 07, 08, something like that. And there's just this frothing ball of fish off of Thatcher's. And we were like, big bluefish feed. Let's grab a couple for bait for tomorrow. We pull in there, and they're all 50-pound bluefins going mad. So obviously we ordered giant fly rods and giant fly reels the next day. So when those arrived, we had them overnighted. So we had gear. We went back out there. I went back out there 3 days later in my dad's 22 Eastern, because at the time we only had the 19-foot skiff. Ended up chasing a school of fish to about 15 miles southeast of Thatcher's and hooking like a 300-pounder on the fly and getting smoked on my tarpon rig. Absolutely spooled me. And fishing, IGFA 20-pound tippets and the whole deal. So you got to the end of the backing.
You had really high hopes.
I had a real 500 yards of backing back in. I was going to die. But then we got some good gear a couple of days later, and Derek and I took the 19-footer, went south of Thatcher's, started chasing a bunch of fish, and they were up and down real quick and up and down real quick, and worked all the way to basically off the northeast corner of the bank. and there's a hurricane forecast for the next day.
Of course.
Of course. So we're out there, and waves start coming up, and we're starting to get pounded, and we're like, oh, we got to start working our way back. And we'd actually thrown a rapala out and snapped a fish off. We started working our way back, and we're probably like the funny hump. We're still 15, 18 miles off of Gloucester. And the fish came up, and they were all like 65 inches on mackerel, and it was absolutely insane. So we take the boat out of gear. Both of us jump up with fly rods. We double up on those fish. Derek ended up pulling his hook, and I got mine. That was the first one on fly that I think anyone north of the Cape had ever caught.
I can't imagine anybody's ever caught a bluefin on a fly.
We ended up catching a lot of them.
Yeah.
But then we were ruined, and then we found the Penn 9500 reels, and Power Pro was like the hot new thing.
It just came out. It
was like literally
those big spin reels and that braid just came out at the perfect time.
Yep, and then you could actually do it.
Yeah.
And then we were crazy with it for 15 years. I mean, we were booking a whole season the season before. Like guys would book a week at a whack. We were running 180 trips and something just chasing
all tuna,
all chasing little bluefins.
Oh my god!
So
when
they're up and down quick like that, are you running and gunning for them, or are you kind of remain patient and see what happens?
A lot of times I'll stop and blind cast if there's if there's anything that would lead me to believe that those fish are working a tide edge, or you see a couple little turns kind of still flying around and looking, those quick up and down little wolf packs, I'll sit there and blind cast for half an hour before I start running around too much.
Yeah, it's good to know.
There's a good chance those fish are still pretty close by, even though they're not coming up.
Yeah.
But I hope they come back. There's plenty of them out there. If they just we gotta get some small bait in shore, and they'll show again.
Just gotta get them up and in.
Yep.
Up and in. That's all we need. So you started off there, right? And then just the craze all of a sudden hit.
It was nuts.
And you guys were learning it as you go. There was no internet, really, to speak of. There was no articles. No one had done this before. So you guys having this whole new fishery all to yourselves.
We heard that the Japanese had all the stuff to do it. So we were like trying to find Japanese tackle shops in the yellow pages and trying to find somebody that could figure out where the tackle shops were in Tokyo. We had a buddy of ours from school was actually teaching English after college in Tokyo.
Yeah.
And we were desperate to track him down. We had no idea how to find the guy. I gotta find a tackle shop. You gotta send us some of the stuff they got over there. We got nothing. And we just kept picking away and finding things that worked.
Yeah.
But it would change every year, and then owning a tackle shop, it was great because you went from the heavy spin gear, and 4 years later the fish were too big for the spin gear, and you sold everybody 30s and 50s, and then 2 years later they were all 80 inches, and everybody wanted 80s, and 2 years after that they were all giants, and everyone came in about 130s.
Yep.
But
I know, I got a whole gambit of a slew of tuna fishing gear from over the years from back then, because every year I thought my father was going to have a heart attack. He's like, I can't be doing this anymore.
It was pretty gear intensive there at the beginning, but it was nothing like it. I mean, years when we would jig, and then the butterfly jigs came out, started butterfly jigging, and soft plastics on jig heads when they were on the sand eels on the northern end of the bank there, and then a lot of topwater stuff on the baby herring when the baby herring came in, and then we had 1 year that was all out to the east on capelin, which I haven't seen a capelin since.
Capelin? What the hell is a capelin?
It looks like a giant silverside, like a 6-inch long silverside.
Really?
Yeah, from the North Atlantic.
Go figure.
And the fish got on them hard. If it had anything that looked like them, they would absolutely annihilate it.
Yeah.
Thankfully, that was when things were starting to get busy, and we could sneak away out there and get away from the boats and everything else.
Yeah.
And we were running 2 boats, plus I was captain in the big boat for the guy out of Boston, so we were out there.
You were running 2 boats at that time? You had the Silverhawk?
We had Silverhawk. We still had the 19-foot skiff.
Oh, okay, all right.
So the bass trips were running on the skiff, and the Silverhawk was running the tuna and stuff.
What is the Silverhawk?
There was a 24-footer that was built down in New Jersey. It was a 23 Seacraft splash, basically. A little wider, a little longer, and a little heavier.
Nice.
But yeah, we put 19,000 engine hours on that boat, and 5 sets of motors. And then it unfortunately sank about 5 years ago, and Guy salvaged it. He put it back together. He put a brand new 350 Suzuki on it, and it's sitting over in Gloucester. It's gorgeous. I completely rebuilt the whole boat. I was like, if you even knew the mayhem that went on in that skiff.
Now, that boat, was it an inboard when you first got it, or was it always an outboard?
Yeah,
because they do make them in inboards,
Yeah,
correct?
they made about twice as many inboards as they made outboards.
Yeah.
On that Silverhawk 24, and we had one of the outboards. We were at the boat show in Boston, and we were sick of getting killed in our 19-footer.
Yeah.
And we found that. Actually, got a pretty good deal at the boat show, and off we went.
There you go.
Boats were a different price back then.
Yeah, exactly. We were like, oh my God, $40,000 for a 24-footer brand new.
Oh my God, dude, that's so crazy. Out of anything you talk about today, that might be the most nuts thing I've heard.
Now I'm helping a buddy shop for like a high 30-foot center console, and it's like, this one's only $850,000.
Dude, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, but
I just saw on Instagram somebody posted a CV with Trip Verado 400s. And it's just like, Jesus Christ.
I ran one of those for a guy out of Manchester at 37 with Trip 350 Verados. That's a great boat.
Yeah.
I fish a couple of days a year on that boat. That thing will rip.
Yeah, that was always one of my favorite growing up.
Yeah.
The CV for sure.
Yeah.
Especially when you get in those bigger sizes.
Yeah.
So seeing the uprising of the tuna back then, like how do you think it compares to today? Do you think we're going there again?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the volume of small fish that's offshore, and I mean, I'm now involved in a lot of the regulation type stuff. I was on a conference call with National Marine Fisheries 2 Februarys ago, and they tried to tell us that there were 10,000 bluefin between 47 and 65 inches left in the Western Atlantic. And it's like, guys, the harpooners go out there and they have to drive an extra 12 miles to get away from the little ones to find a keeper. There are so many small fish that are just not coming inside. And they're, basing a lot of these regulations on just dockside surveys.
Yeah.
So the dockside guy comes by and he says, hey, did you catch any small tuna fish today? And you say, no, because I drove 8.5 miles from the dock and caught 2 600-pounders on my charter. Home.
Yeah.
Why? Nobody's out there chasing them up here anymore, really, the small fish. Just because there's so many giants around. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see big shows of the small fish like Chatham has, again, if the bait comes around.
Any particular bait you're hoping for?
The small herring.
The small herring.
And the herring population is in pretty poor shape.
Yeah.
But those small herring were really what kicked off that whole inshore tuna thing.
I always felt like when I was on a feed of small herring, they stayed up longer. They were a little more predictable.
Yep.
They were kind of hard to chew, though.
Yeah, they were.
You had to kind of mimic them.
Yep. Yep. A lot of dead drops with metal. Just letting it flutter.
Yeah, that's how I probably caught most of mine on spin gear.
Yep.
Like a little 2-ounce crippled herring or something like that.
Letting it fall out of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you get those conditions to come together, it's pretty special. I mean, I saw bass on squid this year up on top. I mean, the bait situation has changed so much. I don't remember ever really seeing anything but the little harbor squid around here, and now we got all these giant squid that we're using for tuna bait. There's all sorts of small squid running around.
Yep.
Very little of the small bait.
I filleted a few bass this year that had butterfish in them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I've never really, maybe 1 or 2, but how many I saw this year? Big ones, too, like 5 inches.
Oh, yeah.
Solid-sized butterfish.
And they come through early. I know a guy with a purse or a pear trawl, not a pear trawl, like a trap for lobster bait. He's already got pogies and butterfish in his net up in Maine.
No shit.
As of last week.
Wow.
And another guy that used to run one of those down off of Singing Beach in Manchester always said the butterfish come through real early in the spring.
Really?
So they're definitely around.
Like shallow? Like
Yeah, like 40, 50 feet of water.
No kidding.
Giant schools of butterfish running up and down the beach.
I wonder if what some of those fish out in the deeper water, like in that range off of Plum Island, I wonder if that's what they're hitting on.
Yep. All those balls bait that you mark and you can't jig anything out of.
Yeah.
I'm pretty convinced that's all butterfish.
Yeah, no kidding. That makes sense, right? You're jigging for, you're like, what the hell? How come I'm not getting bit?
Won't need it.
Yeah.
Yep. I think a lot of that's butterfish.
Very interesting.
I haven't cut a lot out of tuna fish the last 2 years, but I know they're eating them.
Yeah, I know definitely when I fish down at the Cape that, they're mostly on butterfish. Yeah. I mean, when we were down fishing P-Town this year, right? With Kyle,
it was all butterfish.
It was all butterfish. Yeah.
And they could be a pain to get to bite them when they're on the little butterfish too.
Dude, you're telling me?
Yeah,
We had 10 seasons worth of casts in these fish.
Yeah.
You came tight real quick.
Tendonitis in my elbow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had an old leader and snapped.
Yeah.
Finally.
No,
you know what
everyone's
it
got
was?
like 3 rods, right? He grabs the one that's next to him. It's
Yeah.
our buddies. And he fires it off and he goes, I don't know if that thing's any good. We're like, oh no, tight.
Yeah.
Big.
Yeah. That was a rough one. But there'll be other shots.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if you want to talk about it. So like the lures and stuff have changed so much from back in the day.
Absolutely.
Because now people are making lures to target these fish,
Yep.
and you see them upwards of $100 without hooks.
I want one. Somebody out there wants to buy me a Christmas present. I want one. I want one of those strategic angler half peak lures at some point in my
I'll
life.
tell you one thing: they look so good in the water.
Oh, I can't even imagine. I'd
They
be
look so good.
terrified to throw a friggin' $100 lure, but
You got to tell them the story about Kyle.
And Kyle, he goes, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just getting off my second trip, man. It's like 4 p.m. He's like, my buddy went on the east side of Jeffries yesterday and there was fucking tuna everywhere. Let's go. I'm like, what? I'm like, all right, yeah, let's go. So 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the
Blasting out
afternoon, blast out like 27 miles. And it was crazy, Nat. There was just, as far as your eye could see, birds just sitting on the water.
Yeah.
Just sitting. You could smell the oil.
Yeah.
We just blind casted, tried trolling around. No life for tuna. But we're like, dude, I think we just missed something epic.
yeah, absolutely.
So he's like, all right, I'm bored. He goes, he had a whole bag of strategic anglers he just bought. He goes, all right, here we go. Cast it. I don't even know what happened. I think he had a wind-on leader and then snapped.
Hung up in the gut.
And he just goes, oh, fuck.
First throw.
So he came on my boat and he was looking for another one. He goes, dude, what am I looking for? He's like, this is the boat I want, right? So he happens to find one used down in South Carolina. So this was like Monday or Tuesday we went out fishing. By Friday, he's already down there.
Got a new boat ready to go.
Guess who the guy he goes out with on this pair custom? Guess who his buddy is? Merv from
no
Strategic
kidding.
Angler.
Nice.
So they went fishing together, and he just sends them boxes of shit now.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But like,
Too funny.
I just remember like every lure I got, that was like, oh, we got to change out the split rings, we got to change out the hooks.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. No, buying. I mean, some of those little Yozuri L-jacks and some of that little.
They don't even make those anymore.
Nope, they're gone.
If I see one, I buy it just to have it.
Hydro minnows. I got a box of them at home. And we were putting heavy-duty fly tying hooks on the back because you couldn't find an offset single to run on there. And there was a lot of experimentation. But
That's right. That changed too. Just the inline singles now brings another point to the game. I just got a bunch of BKKs and swapped them out.
Yep.
And it's amazing, just like how sharp and thin they are compared to like we used to use like live bait hooks all the time, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
No, I started changing that out even on like SP minnows and stuff.
Yeah.
For bass.
Yeah. Me too.
It's great.
Yeah.
What were you using for jig heads for the soft plastics back then?
First ones we found were a heavy-duty Kalen. It was like a halibut jig head, but you can only get them in like 4 ounces, so it was way too heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started with the Owner saltwater jig heads.
That's right.
And those worked really well for a bunch of years. And then it was on to the Ronzis and all that sort of stuff eventually. And now there's a bunch of them.
I just picked up a bunch of the L gags. I think he has its owner
Yep.
hooks he has on there. They're pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Can't wait to use them.
Absolutely. But yeah, it's nice to have some dedicated tackle that actually comes pre-rigged and ready to roll because there was a lot of manipulation and trying to get
Yeah, for sure. Changing things out.
Oh yeah, it's definitely still hard to spend $28 for a Ron Z instead of a pack of Sluggos.
Oh, yeah,
that's for
exactly.
sure.
No, I remember making 4-foot leaders, putting an egg sinker ahead of a swivel and a single live bait hook and just putting a soft plastic on that and having to throw it like a helicopter through the air. But the fish would eat it all day long.
Yeah.
You just keep picking away till you figure something out. But yeah, I mean.
So, like, as you guys are kind of experimenting with this, right? You guys also must have had to go through that gambit of trying out different lures, different lines, stuff like that. Like, there must have been a lot of failure accrued as well before you guys kind of figured it out.
Yeah, we got lucky on the one thing that was always tricky was the braid to fluoro knot.
Yeah.
And there was one guy that we tarpon fished with in Key West for years that was building the IGFA leader. So he wanted to go from his bite tippet to his class tippet, and he came up with the Slim Beauty knot.
Yeah.
And so we use that Slim Beauty knot for I actually still use it. It's a little chunky going out through the guides, but other than that, I've not never had one fail.
It's so funny. Whenever I talk about the Slim Beauty knot, people look at me like, "What? What is that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's the magic knot. It's the old school knot."
Yep.
Yeah.
Still works. No hollow Spectra wind on stuff. I mean,
Yeah, the funny thing about it is it's not that slim.
it's not at all.
No, not at all.
Not an 80 fluoro. It's not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But again, it's strong. You know how to tie it. You can tie it with your eyes closed.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Doesn't
can't.
break.
Getting through, I don't tie it on the water as much because trying to get it through the little bowl sometimes
Yeah.
is a huge
Oh,
pain
yeah.
in the ass. I get
Oh
frustrated.
yeah, now I need readers. It
Yeah.
drives me crazy. I was doing it today while we were largemouth fishing. I had to put on a new leader and fishing braid on the little tiny light gear and trying to tie a Slim Beauty in a boat in the wind with like 12-pound fluoro.
Oh, yeah, it was windy out there
It's like
today.
impossible.
12-pound braid. This is useless. You need a uni.
Yeah,
Call it big.
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what it comes
I know,
down.
I
Real
always-
quick, get it back out
I
there.
do always go out with these nice knots, the slim beauties, FG knots, and then it's like, all right, uni, we're out here.
Yeah, we're just catching pickerel.
Oh, actually, this is kind of funny. I got to ask Nat because he's the man. Me and Bert, Dan's stepfather, used to always have kind of like a discussion about how we were tying our Slim Beauties as far as how many wraps up and how many wraps down.
Yep.
What's your go-to?
7 up, 11 back.
7 up, 11 back. I was correct.
Yep.
I think I was going 8 up, 10 back or something like that.
Yeah, the magic in mono to mono was 3 up and 5 back, and we found it was just slipping too much with the braid.
Yeah, you have to nick those extra. Do you double your line?
No.
No, you just go single too.
just single.
Yeah, me too. Fallon does that. Fallon will do like a bimmy twist,
And then
do
the
it
double.
for the double. Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be pretty rugged.
yeah, that ain't going anywhere. No, certainly not. I know, and it's crazy. And now with like all the advancements in hollow core and people doing loop to loop stuff and direct splicing, you know, I'm still a knot guy when it comes to spinning gear for tuna.
At least in terms of timing, I'm going to be able to. I mean, I'm pretty anal about changing leaders every fish when we're casting a fish and everything else, and to. I guess we used to have Basil come up and go to our seminars, and his stuff is fantastic. But if I was burning through that many leaders, I think I'd still go right back to the knot.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The wind-ons are expensive to make. I feel like you got to cut them just perfect so they're not wrapped around the spool.
Yep.
You know, and quite honestly, I could probably tie a knot faster than I can re-rig a wind-on.
I can, yeah.
For sure,
Yep.
100%.
Yep, just whip another leader on while the guy's throwing the backup rod and then swap them back up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, I know a lot of people are doing that wind-on stuff when it comes to casting. I don't mind it so much in the jigging world because it's not, you can do longer leaders. You can get that more secure connection, I guess. Well, technically. But, I've always been a solid braid to tie it on my leader.
Yep.
Keep
it easy. That's half the battle.
Don't overthink it sometimes, I guess.
Exactly.
We're probably more prone to overthink things than
Always.
underthink them.
Always. Yeah. You get me going on giant fishing and I'm questioning everything every single day. Something's worked for 35 years and you're like, I got to change the whole system. That one fish didn't bite, so now I got to change everything.
Right.
You get caught up in it. It's craziness.
So, out of all the fishing that you have done, what's your favorite? What do you enjoy most?
I like giant fishing.
You like giant fishing?
I really get an issue with giant fishing. And permit on the fly. In the tropics, and some tarpon on the fly. I like small tarpon. I'm sick of pulling on big ones for 2 hours.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
That's the worst of your problems. You're doing all right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But if I had to do something every day for the rest of my life, I had to pick one fishery, it'd be giant fishing.
Yeah, what attracts you to that over other things?
There's so many little nuances that you have to get right to get consistently bit.
Yeah.
It's less and less these days because there's so many fish around. It's crazy, and anybody and their brother can hook a mackerel in the back and throw it over the side and catch one. It seems like these days. But just all the little rig and stuff that's taken 30 years to figure out. It's kind of fun finding those little things that only you do and that work.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, are you a big experimenter while you're out there, or do you kind of take it back home, think about it, and then maybe try it the next trip? Or is it something that like you're changing on the fly while you're out there?
My mate, the guy that I commercial giant fish with, is great at just playing around with something.
Yeah.
It'll be hey, Mike, I'm going to sit in the beanbag for half an hour, and you'll hear like chainsaws going in the back of the boat. Figuring out how to re-rig something, some different way.
Yeah.
So he does a lot of the experimenting. The way I rig my baits has sort of been the way I've rigged my baits for years.
Yeah.
But it's always fun. Change it up a little bit.
Now, if you were talking to somebody new who might be listening to this podcast when it comes to giant fishing, or somebody who's, it's a big learning curve. I'm sure a lot of people go out, they buy all the gear, they see the TV show, and they go out there and they're like, this really fucking sucks.
Yeah, this is a lot of sitting around in chum flies in the middle of July.
Oh, the chum flies are the worst. What would be like one piece of advice you would give to somebody new to kind of speed up that learning curve?
Shorten up your anchor line, and if you get off the edge, you got to re-anchor.
Okay.
I see way too many people 600 feet of anchor line out, and they're drifting way off the edge, way up on the edge, way down the edge from the where they want to be. And I'm fishing like 220 feet of poly, straight up and down to a giant anchor and half-inch chain. So I sit right on my number all day long.
Yeah.
And if I get off it if I'm out of the depth I want to be in by 12 feet, 15 feet, I'm picking up the hook and resetting.
No shit.
So I'll reset, 6-8 times a day sometimes, just trying to stay on it.
Just stay right where you want to go.
Whether it's an edge, whether it's a notch in an edge, whether it's a little flat where the bait is, whatever it is, I'm constantly resetting to stay on.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many thousands of times it's been like, oh no, I'll give this 10 more minutes here. We're not perfect, but it's okay. Finally get sick of it. I move up literally pull the anchor, move the anchor ball 12 feet over.
Yeah.
Put it back down, get back on the anchor and go off. I mean, it happens all the time. Sometimes they're just in that perfect depth. Or sometimes your bait's at the perfect depth because you've moved up 6 feet in water depth on the edge, or whatever the case may be. But,
I'm hearing that I don't do really any giant stuff. Like, I'm lucky to get out there once or twice a year giant fishing. Half the time I'm just going with somebody else. You know what I mean? Even though I got all the fucking gear. It's just like... And that's what I hear more and more, like people just resetting their anchor to make sure they're in that spot that they want to be in.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And going early enough that you get your spot. If I show up at one of the many places I really like and I can't get my exact number there, I'm going to the next spot.
Just moving on.
I drive myself crazy if I'm sitting, 150 feet away to give, the next guy some room.
Yeah.
Or eighth of a mile or quarter mile, depending on where you're fishing. That's why I don't fish the flag anymore, is because there's no rules whatsoever.
Nowhere to go. Short ride from New Hampshire, from Massachusetts, from Maine.
One guy on top of the next, and that fishing drives me crazy too. So, but no, if I can't get on exactly my number, I'll go to the next spot. I don't think it makes a lot of difference. As long as you're in that perfect spot, you're gonna get looks at fish every day.
Yeah.
But if you're in 150 yards away from that spot, you might not see anything for the day.
And it's so funny, like you wouldn't think that because of these giant creatures, and you feel like they'd be moving a lot more.
Yep.
So what do you think it is about these spots, even though they're 100 feet away? Why are they more prone to bite right on it?
A couple of things. Either bait availability. I mean, there's a spot down the bank where the bottom consistency goes from sandy, muddy cobble to like softball sized boulders.
Yeah.
And the bait is completely, and you can do that on an anchor swing. You'll swing onto the hard rock, or you swing back into the mud.
Yeah.
And you'll get herring, mackerel, whiting on the soft bottom, and you get nothing but cod on the hard bottom. And the fish just aren't running over that hard bottom because they don't want to eat the codfish all the time if there's herring, mackerel, and everything 100 yards the other side.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I think sort of the general thought for a lot of people is that I'm on the edge. The fish are just swimming down the edge of this bank and feeding.
Correct.
I fish it more in that I want to be in a spot where the fish decide to either come up on the edge or come off the edge.
Correct.
And a lot of times I think they'll sit in the deep and they'll come up quick on the tide change. They'll feed up on top where the bait is, and then they'll drop right back up through a little slot. And there's a spot down Stellwagen. It's like 2.5 feet deeper, and it's a little channel that runs over the top of the bank. I can't tell you how many thousands of fish I've taken it, and there's nothing to it, but that one little divot,
one little change,
seems to be where they want to eat on a certain tide. It's consistently worked anyway for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, little notches and edges, little points, just that little tiny change in structure on the.
You got this ledge, say on Stellwagen, that's around 15 miles long, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of real estate there.
Absolutely.
So you really want to narrow it down. So maybe it's like a tighter drop off or a little point jutting out, like you said, a bottom structure change. There's something there that's going to make those fish want to eat and hang around that area.
Yeah.
Like, you could still probably get by catching a couple fish up and down the ledge. Not a problem.
Absolutely.
But when you're talking about guys like you who are professionals that do this for a living,
Yep, you got to catch one.
Devil's in the details.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's funny, I think when I was first starting in high school, when I was first starting giant fish, everyone told us, you want to be in 180 feet of water. So we fished in 180 or 181 feet of water for years and years and years. And now, there are places on Jeffries where I want to sit in 230, and there are places on the bank where I want to sit in 100 feet of water. It's not just about the edge; it's about the preferred depth for that particular spot.
Yeah.
And it makes a difference.
Yeah, it's definitely another thing just by, researching, hearing things. Like, every spot is almost its own little animal in terms of the bait, how you present it, what you want to do. Like, I know guys like down at Chatham, drift, whereas up here, everyone's mostly anchored.
Yeah. Yep. And I've always had better luck up here anchoring than drifting, for sure.
Yeah.
At least with the big fish.
Well, I think here, too, there's more structure. They're probably more structure-orientated.
Yeah.
Because I know when I fish down off of Chatham, it's like barren land.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, it's really strange. There's just so much feed down there. It's crazy.
It's so weird.
They can't resist going to that feed.
Right.
But yeah, it's always new. When you find a new spot and you work it for like a season or two, and you end up figuring out that, all right, 3 o'clock is coming the slack tide. On the back end of the slack tide, we're going to see 4 fish come over this one little hump, because those 4 fish have been coming through, but I've been seeing them on the other tide, on the other side of the hump, and they won't eat.
Yeah.
You get on the other side of the little hump, and off you go.
Yeah.
Very often, I think it's probably the same fish. I think, one school's coming through that area
Yep.
again. You catch a couple, you educate them, and you gotta go move somewhere else.
Well, and that's also 30, 40 years of experience of fishing in your backyard.
Yes.
To get to that level.
Yeah, I have spent a lot of time within 25 miles of Gloucester Harbor on every little hump and bump and piece of bottom trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Sure. Yep.
And that's I tell a lot of guys up around here, even for striper fishing, when they oh, the bite's good in Boston, I'm going down there. Oh, the bite's good down the Cape, I'm going down there. It's learn your area exceptionally well.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that by the time you hear about a bite, it's probably gone.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah.
Or everybody.
Nat Moody cleaned it up a week ago.
Yeah. But it's interesting, talking about the little depth changes and all that. You can't just be relying on charts. You must be just going around and reading bottom and just taking your time and really taking it all in, right?
Absolutely, and
soaking in the environment.
A lot of times it's something you stumbled across because you marked a big pile of bait, and what's that bait doing there?
Yep.
It's really weird. And you do a couple laps around, and you're like, oh, there's a little trough right there, and that's why they're all in there, and it changes,
Yeah.
But it's really any fishing. It's just time on the water. You got to put the time in.
And it's kind of funny how you learn stuff out of necessity too, right? I tell a lot of people, a lot of times when I find a good bite, it's because the last 2 days have probably sucked.
Yeah.
And I'm just all right, just going down my checklist. Maybe they're over here and I can try this.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, one day it works. Now, again, another arrow in the quiver.
Yeah, exactly.
It just keeps adding up.
Yep. And they some of those stay consistent, some of them disappear again on you, but once you've racked up enough of the consistent things, you can go out there and put it together.
Yep. And then you get your tides, your times, your time of year, your moons, whatever it is.
Yep.
That's when you start getting your information and you look for repeat patterns.
Yep. I mean, I'm booking guys now for striper fishing in July, and they're like, oh, I want to go do X and X like we did last year. And it's like, well, okay, but we're going to be 4 days different than we were last year because the moon's later and this tide's different, and you're going to have to come a week early. Well, that's my vacation. Well, we're not going to be fishing.
If you want that, this is when you need it.
That's when that spot is good, and if we don't have the water for it, then it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You can always go find a few bass on high tide, but it's very interesting how some of these bites just get so fine-tuned to, a 45-minute window.
Yep.
That they're going to both bite and be in this location. And for whatever reason, that keeps happening and keeps happening.
A couple of years when we were in the pogie schools, right, fishing for bass, I noticed it was at a time when fishing was overall pretty slow, but at dead high tide, on the dot. Like if high tide was 3:05 in the afternoon, at 3:05 you'd be in the pogie schools, and there were some structures that we found on where they were hanging out where we knew they were going to come. You would see bass fly in like the Hells Angels coming at you. You could see them. I would stand up on my bow and just see 20 bass, huge bass, just come in and wreak havoc for a half an hour.
Yep.
And then again, the next day, that bites an hour later.
Yep.
Before I knew it, I was running charters till 8:30 at night, and I just wanted to go home.
Yep.
And then it flipped, and then you had that bite in the morning, and it was that dead high tide, 45-minute window, whenever it was, like on a certain set of, not numbers because the area changed, but after like 2 or 3 days of seeing where they were, you got that pattern of what we were looking for.
Yeah.
And I actually think you came on.
I was with you.
The second, one of the first morning ones.
Yep.
The
morning. I actually saw a giant. That was the day I saw the giant too.
Yeah, we saw a giant right in front of the houses of Plum Island.
Came out from like, it was like everybody, and it was everyone's looking the other way. I was like, oh no.
See that big roll of whitewater up there? That was just something cool a minute ago.
We got a cool one on my side scan in 9 feet of water.
Did you really?
Yeah,
cool.
I'll have to send you the picture.
Oh, that's awesome.
We were snagging and dropping pogies like 4 or 5 years ago. Just gotten spooled, or close to it, popped it off. And then we marked it on the fish finder. Like later on, we saw one in 9 feet of water. And then, I don't know, you remember Mike Fallon?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike's a good buddy of mine.
Yeah.
And he had the drone up that day. And he actually was working a pogie school. And he was like, I don't know, it's getting worked, but I'm not catching any bass. Goes home, looks at the drone footage, and there was a giant.
One giant just
pushing
paddling around.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, the bluefins don't care about water depth, that's for sure.
No, they really don't, do they?
No. 15, 18 years ago, there were a bunch of guys surf casting in end of October off of Folly Point and off the couple of the coves out in Rockport, and a big body of bass pushed a whole school of stripers up against, or a big body of tuna fish pushed a whole school of stripers up against the beach.
No shit.
And there were bass like filling the tide pools as they pushed this huge migrating school of schoolies up, and they were throwing seaweed up on the beach and like right at your feet.
Wow,
amazing.
And they were just munching on stripers?
Just eating bass one after the next.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's awesome. That is so cool. Yeah, I got lucky with inside 3 miles last year. I had the bars, and I'm like, I'm just going to troll around because, like, I don't know where they are, and I want to cover a lot of ground, and let's see what we can do. And I got one.
Nice.
Yeah, I was like, this is awesome. So then I spent the next week out there.
In the bag. By yourself.
Yeah.
His wife was about to file for divorce. But that's another thing that's changed. So I don't know. Did you pull a lot of bars back in the day for the footballs, or were you mostly a jig and casting bait guy?
Early on, like one of my first jobs was the old Fisherman Outfitter when Paul Lassess owned it. I worked there one summer, and my job was to rig pickled mackerel onto number 19 Malin wire in daisy chains and spreader bars, and literally to the tune of thousands of them. So the first couple of giants we ever caught were trolling mackerel on wire.
No kidding.
Single swimmers and bars and that whole thing. And we only had 2 rods. So putting 2 rods out. But after that, no, very little trolling. I'm not a huge trolling guy. Other than slow troll at max, which I do.
Geez, do you think though that those old methods of rigging up bars will ever come back?
Absolutely.
You don't think people are getting too used to the easiness of a squid bar?
People love the easiness, but a single swimming chin-weighted big mackerel. We used to spend a week every spring, Derek and I just going and hydro gutting and brining big mackerel, and we'd get them in the spring. But that's when, come June 15th, you didn't catch another mackerel till October.
Dude, remember that? Remember those days? It was Father's Day. After Father's Day, you couldn't get a mackerel.
You'd never see one. Now
it feels like the last couple of years, I don't know if it's just because I've been hanging around and throwing plastics and stuff, but I feel like I don't even get my first mackerel till mid-June now.
Yeah, a lot of times.
Yeah.
And there are times when they're tricky to get these days.
Yeah.
I mean, not impossible, but you're traveling further and spending more time for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of inshore mackerel this year too. Like our first mackerel this year, we were catching literally in the mouth, in like 15 feet of water.
No kidding.
Yeah, we were jigging.
That was in May too. I think.
It was in May.
Yeah.
We were jigging spoons for stripers. We were trying to try this out.
Yep.
And I was catching mackerel.
Catching mackerel up in the river.
So, like, you know, the next day on my charter, by the time we end up, like, casting sluggos and shit in the mouth, I'm just sitting there with a sabiki, and the guys who can't figure it out, here, get a mackerel.
There you go, feed this out with that.
But actually, the mackerel still, at that time, really weren't getting hit as well. The lures were still getting hit a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
No,
It's funny what you said though, Chris, about like, you know, trolling bait versus trolling bars, and will it come back? I mean, it's tuna fishing. As soon as someone hears someone, it's like everyone and their mother will be buying what they have to buy.
Oh yeah, Paul has always told a great story about back when he owned Fisherman's Outfitter. The bite was in Chatham in the fall, and guys were trolling bars. Yeah. And he was on the phone with his wife, who was running the shop, and from the payphone at the commercial dock as he's offloading, and there's like 40 guys standing around. And his wife's like, "Oh, you're killing me ordering all these different colored squid. I got like 400 purple squid here." And Paul goes, "Purple squid? He got one on a purple squid too? We got ours on a purple squid." They cleaned out Fisherman's Outfitter. This useless purple squid over the next 3 days. They were getting a bite on him.
That's great. That's the way it goes.
Yep.
I'm sure it goes like that a lot now, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the reason why I brought that up is because Dan was talking about trolling the bars, and they have those new side tracker style bars now. So someone like me who doesn't have outriggers and I don't want to fucking deal with them, dude, we cut.
No, it's awesome. Yeah, put
plenty of fish on
clean
them.
water, and it's great.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can run something down the middle, like realistic on a 21-foot boat. I can troll 6 lines.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
awesome. Until you hook 3 at the same time.
Yeah,
There's
I know.
only 2 of you on board.
I'm waiting for those days. We'll see.
Me and my father, it was July 2nd. I was working on the party boat still, so I don't know, it must have been 2008, 9. So we actually had a day off on the party boats, like on a nice weather day. I couldn't believe it. Like in the middle of the week, I was just scheduled for a day off, like 40 days in a row. So I'm like, Dad, let's go see if we can get a tuna. So we go down. We go right towards Halibut Point, and sure as shit, there they are. They start jumping. And that was the first year where you go to take the spin rod and you see what's jumping. You're like, no.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'm throwing with that one.
And I'll never forget it. They were just on top, but they were moving. And, like, we tried casting to them, but I'm like, dude, I don't even know if we should hook anything on this, right? So my dad's like, all right, let's troll. And, you know, we didn't have outriggers, so it was the old Sluggo and X-Wrap days, right?
Yep.
So
every time.
I see this school just fucking 50 yards in front of the boat for like a half an hour. My ADD's kicking in. Like, I just like, all right, dude, let's just cast. Like, what are we doing? And he's just like, just hang tight. My father just doesn't want to do anything. This wasn't a great fishing epiphany. Just wait, we'll catch up to him. Well, that little school just swirled off to the starboard, and he just swung the boat.
Right around it.
Boom. One goes off on the 50. We had one harness, so it was my turn. He caught the last one the year before, so it was the first trip of this season. So I get in the harness. He's cranking up on the X-Wrap on a TLD 30 as fast as he can go. Boom, that one goes off. And it was just us two.
Nice.
So I get my drag on my TLD 30 or 50, whatever you can put it up at. Past strike, I think I'm going to throw up. It's 100 degrees already at 8 in the morning. And I'm just trying to get this in to help my dad out. So we get mine. It was probably about like 75. It was a solid. But we didn't have our commercial permit, so we let it go. And then he fought his for another hour. And he didn't even he goes, I don't need the harness. I'm like, okay, dude. Dude, we ended up at the MR marker outside the Merrimack.
All the way north.
It was like 7 miles.
At least it brought you home.
So we go back, and Fallon's actually on the back of the captain's lady cutting bait for the morning trip. And he goes, hey, you guys going tuna fishing? And we're like, nah, we just doubled up, dude. We're done.
We're all done.
We're done. He's like, really? He was so pissed he had to work.
Yep, we fought one from the southwest corner on that walk-around 42-footer. My client had his 11-year-old son, his buddy, and his 7-year-old son on board. And we've been running and gunning, chasing fish out to the east all day. I called Derek on the radio as we're coming back in. He's like, "Oh, it's starting to look really good here. We haven't got one yet, but we're marking real good. It's going to go." And Bob Cook was there. That was like the first year Bob was chartering. And we pull in, throw mackerel over the side on the 50, and they're hooking 55 inches next to us. And we hook a legit 1,200 pounder on a 50 stand-up. And we fought it in reverse, either in the rod holder or one of the two kids or the guy Mike in the fighting chair. From there, all the way northeast of the northeast corner of the bank.
Oh, my God.
It was like 33 miles. And you'd back up to the thing, and its back would be out of water, the tail would be wagging. You'd back up close, and it would just fade off 350 yards of the 50. Just did not care. Back in the drag off, cranking the preset down as far as it would go.
Yeah.
Sunset it again, like, let's get it or break it off. Thing would just come up behind the boat. You back the boat right up on top of it, and we had a wreck permit on the boat, so we were trying to just get the thing close enough to cut it off.
Oh, so you couldn't even keep it because of the wreck permit. Oh, my God.
Oh, miserable. And finally it ended up chewing through the line after 9.5 hours or whatever.
9.5 hours.
Amazing. Is that the most memorable fish that you've caught?
That was definitely the first one. Fly was pretty memorable. So Derek and I were out there. We double up on the fly, and it's the hurricane's coming. We're in the 19-footer. So it's getting kind of nasty. We get 2 pictures of me, one of which I still got hanging in my shop, holding this fish. I fire the fish back over the side. We didn't want to keep it. And now it's like 4 feet and blowing 20 and raining. And we're still on the northeast corner of the bank in this 19-footer. So we start plowing home, and then it's 6-footers, and now we have to slow down, and now we're launching off the top of them. And so the binnacle trim tab was not working.
Of course.
The motor was trimmed up a little too far. So Derek takes it out of gear. I run to the back, trim the motor down a little bit further. He starts gunning it, and an 8-footer comes over and just eats the back of the boat. We suck seawater into the bottom 2 cylinders through the air intake.
Oh.
So we're toast. And we had the first GPS from Lawrence, and it came in a bag like the original cell phones. It was like a 20 by 20 bag, and the whole machine the screen was like 3 inches by 3 inches. So we got to call the Coast Guards. We called Station Gloucester. They put us through Station Boston on just the VHF, and the signal's terrible. So they start having us. They go, "Oh, you got a GPS? What is your GPS coordinates?" And we give them the numbers off the machine. He goes, "Son, that's Des Moines, Iowa." So the thing had gotten soaked when we took the wave. It was frying itself. It couldn't bring up our signal at all. So they start having us do countdowns from 100 to 0 over the VHF, and they're trying to triangulate our location. So they launched the 41-footer in Gloucester. It makes it to the break wall. It takes a wave over the top of the boat, over the top of the 41-footer. It's getting nasty now. And so they turn around, go back in, send the 47-foot roll boat out of Gloucester. It took him 4.5 hours to get to us, and couldn't find us on radar because we were so small. So he's just doing this countdown thing. Luckily, the battery lasted long enough for him to actually see us because we were moments away from running out of juice.
No shit.
We had tied all the life jackets onto the igloo cooler, like that was our escape plan.
Just to hop on the cooler.
And it was so steep.
It's actually pretty smart.
With no power that we were going down the faces of the waves so fast that if you got to the bottom, you had to steer the motor to keep yourself going straight, and you'd never make it up the next one, but then you'd slog all the way back up to this one, then you'd shoot down the next one. But if you got to the bottom and you weren't steering, it'd turn you sideways. It would roll us right over. The guy pulls up next to us and goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" So he pulls the 47.
You're like, "What catch your tuna on the fly, bitch? What are you doing?"
Freaking 19-foot. It's pitch black, middle of the night.
Yeah.
They're blowing like 40, 12-footers. Absolutely miserable rain. And he throws a line to us, and he guns the 47-footer down sea. And it snaps our boat around, and it just crushes the back corner of our skiff into the cutter. He goes, "Itchy and scratchy to the bow." He's yelling. So we bail off the skiff. The 2 guys throw us on the deck. We run up to the bow, and it was so rough that you come off the top of it, and our feet would be over our heads hanging onto the bow rail of the 47-footer. And we come down, smash into the deck, and get all beat up. Finally, he drops our boat behind his boat and starts towing it, brings us up onto the roof. And we're sitting up on the roof, and he goes, "If that thing ain't there when we get to the harbor, I'm not turning around." We were like, "No problem, no problem." He towed us in. He tied us off to the harbor master's dock. He was like, "Yeah, have a good night." He just left us there. We had to come with another boat and tow it back to Manchester. We came at like 3 o'clock in the morning, though. And as soon as we got home, we were like, "We can't have anyone see our skiff tied to the harbor master's dock." We were gonna go get it. Yeah, that cost us an engine, but we caught fish on fly.
That is awesome.
And that was probably one of the first ones ever, right?
Yeah, I mean, Al Anderson used to do them down in the mud hole and that sort of stuff on fly rods, but little 20, 30 pounders. That was the first like legit 75-pound fish I know of on a fly up here. Anyway, North Carolina they did a little bit too.
Yeah,
some of those guys were trying to set records, but.
You know, what was really cool, too, during that heyday is launcher from Gloucester, and you have, like, 360 degrees of fishability. Like, even for you, like, to go to the northwest corner, if that's where the hot bite was, you know, it's, 13 miles?
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, like, that's, 42 for us, or 38 for us?
Yeah.
So I just remember those days, like, when we'd go, we'd have to wake up at 2 in the morning, get out of the river, you know, drive an hour and a half out there for first light. Yep. And, God, it was the best, though.
That was good. It was good. Some of those jig bites on the northeast corner and northwest corner.
I never got one on the jig.
I mean, it was silly. You'd pull up, get on the edge, everyone would throw it over the side, and you'd watch the rods just whoop, 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 everyone would be tight.
No shit.
Just fantastic.
And it's like crazy. Like, I wonder if they were around, but people just aren't doing it because they're so focused on the giant fishing right now. Like, do you feel like there could be a good jig bite of these smaller fish from what you've seen the last couple of years?
I haven't been marking the small ones much the last couple of years. You know, there are times, usually October, you're marking them pretty good, and you got to weed through a dozen little ones to get your big one. But not nearly as much as we used to at that point.
Gotcha.
But there's no sand eels left on the northern end of the bank since they put the water treatment plant in. That wiped out the whole northern end of the bank.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, the water treatment plant, so they're pumping all that fresh water from Deer Island out there.
Okay.
It's completely changed the whole salinity or something on the northern end of the bank. Like, you never see sand eels there other than super early in the spring. For like a week, the sand eels go from there, and that whole body of sand eels that used to be on the northern half of Stellwagen is now in Murray Basin.
They're not on Jeffries, right?
It's like 40 miles away and 800 feet of water.
And really, you think it correlates to when that whole thing got started?
It was as soon as they started pumping water out there, that following season, the sand eels disappeared.
So, were the sand eels a consistent thing there always?
Always have been.
Oh, I kind of thought that was kind of like a new thing back in the day when the tuna were coming around. That's why they were there.
Yeah, I mean, the sand eels were always there, and they were giant sand eels for, as long as I'd been going there.
Yeah, they were huge.
And then it all just vanished. It all moved way out to the east.
No kidding.
And that's why the fish are in Chatham. There's no easy eels up here. Even though they don't really gain any fat when they're eating eels, it's really the worst thing for them to be eating.
Yeah, but they get the volume, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And they don't have to chase them around. They can just go right through the whole school and take big gulps.
Yeah. In terms of quality of fish, though, you don't want eelfish.
No. What are you looking for? Ones that are eating herring.
Just herring. Like, I'll fish specifically for fish that are on herring.
Yeah. Because as a commercial guy, like, it matters what type of fish you get, what that fat content is, and you can target those.
Oh yeah, $4 a pound on an eelfish versus $12 a pound on a herring fish is worth making a ride someplace different, and maybe waiting an extra day to get one.
Yeah.
So what's your harvesting practice? Everyone fights over who does what, but how long are you swimming the fish for you?
I'm not.
You're not. Okay.
I tried swimming fish for a year. Didn't have any different change in the price.
Okay.
We're fighting them 45 minutes to an hour and a half is basically where I'm at. I don't want them any sooner. I don't want them any longer. I get on them real quick in the center console with a rod up in the bow. So first big run, they develop so much lactic acid because they're rare air breathers, so they close their mouth when they go on that first run. You run the boat right up on top of them and put heavy heat to them right away and stop them. I think they're winded at that point, and they're much more likely to spiral. But they aren't burnt. You don't give them a chance to be half mile away on the surface running around like crazy, burning themselves out. And once you put the real heat to them with somebody on the rod that's not afraid to really pull, you get them pretty quick. But we're bleeding them, harpoon, tail rope, bleed them, raking the gills with the harpoon, slow trolling them back to the ball, sometimes longer, to make sure they're completely bled out, and then just a ton of ice. Making sure you slush them down really good.
What do you put them do you have a bag on your boat?
Yep, but I've got a 370 quart Icy Tech that's topped off with fish house, small ice, and really plugging them up really good.
Yeah.
And that seems to make a difference. But even that year I swam a bunch of fish, it was more the quality of the fish to start with than it was what I was doing to it afterwards. As long as you're not leaving it out in the sun, and once the fish is on deck, Mike's a machine.
Yeah.
So that thing is bled and gutted and taken care of in 6 or 8 minutes. It's on ice and in the dark.
Yeah.
Which I think makes a big difference.
I would think so, absolutely. Yeah. So you said you're putting a lot of heat on them. What's a lot of heat drag-wise?
45, 50 pounds.
45, 50?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the lighter gear we fish these days, back when we were fishing 180 and 200 all the time, you could go 65 pounds. But I don't think you really need to.
Yeah, you seem to break their will with that.
Yeah. If you put 50 pounds on them and at the right time, and you got somebody that can keep the heat on them, and don't get them.
And being in the center console too probably helps tire them out a little bit. Absolutely.
Advantage. Yeah, it's like fish is towing a pole.
Because they're pulling the boat. Yeah.
Absolutely. You can put some serious heat on that one.
Now you mentioned, you're fishing a lot lighter nowadays than previous years. Is that more so because the equipment's better, like with the advantage of fluorocarbon and solid core braid as opposed to Dacron? Or is it just that they're getting smarter, more leader shy? You got to scale down really to get that bite.
There's so many boats out there now that you got to do something different. We're not fishing 130. I mean, we're not going super late like a lot of guys do. But on 150, there's only so much you can do on 150.
Yeah,
they'll chafe you off, or we don't break main lines hardly ever. But
a lot of chafe bites. Are you fishing circle hooks, J hooks, or just whatever?
About 8 years ago, I was convinced I was going to. This is one of those years.
Yeah.
I'm going circle hooks this year. Everybody's catching them on circle hooks. I literally, by middle of July, took a handful of every circle hook that was on the boat and threw it over the side. I said, Mike, I'm never putting another one out. Never again. So all I fish is 9-aught live baits. So I have, 100 packs of one style hook, and that's it for the season.
That's it, huh?
Yeah. I don't care if it's a 8-pound whiting or a tiny herring. It's getting a 9-aught.
There you go.
What
are you using? The owners of Gamakatsu?
Gamakatsu live bait. Heavy duty 9-aught.
Man, some things never change, man.
Nope. It's been 30 years of that hook.
Right? No, I just remember going to your shop and getting stacking up on all the live bait HDs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a good hook.
Put them on my crippled herrings and shit.
Yep. Same thing. Yeah, I can't stand circle hooks. It's really the wave of the future and really the way it should be done, but it drives me nuts.
What's the matter with the big fish? You just felt like they were popping off?
I was pulling hooks like a madman.
Come a little bit closer to the microphone. There you go.
I was pulling hooks like a madman.
Really?
I was getting bit every single day and fighting it for an hour and then pulling a hook. Or the rod would lap over and boom, the thing would pop right back up. Now, there's a lot of technique to it. The guys that are backing their drags off and letting the fish turn his head and start getting away, and the way you should really fish a circle. But I don't really always have the patience for it.
Yeah, you just want to stick them and go.
If I'm chartering, I don't want to have to talk the guy through. Okay, now bump the drag up a little bit more. Now bump the drag up a little.
Yeah.
Totally. I want the rod to lap over. We lip hook 80-something% of the fish with it.
Yeah.
Live bait hook the way we fish. So
good.
It's not a huge detriment for me. But
how about circles for stripers? Find any difference?
No, I find I throat hook just as many fish.
Yeah.
And miss a lot more with glinds.
Yeah.
But it's the way of the future.
With the circle hooks and stuff, it's funny you mentioned with clients. I got some that never touched a rod in their life, and they'll hook every single fish.
Every single one. Yep.
And then I got guys that are pretty good fishermen, but my God, they can't figure it out.
No.
And it's always like one or the other.
Yeah.
It's never like a guy misses one or two and hits everything else.
Yeah.
No, it's either this dude's like slamming them and this guy ain't getting shit and all his boys are on his ass about it.
This is the best. A couple years ago, one of my really good friends is a stand-up comedian in Boston. So he brings a bunch of guys out. And these guys have never been on the ocean. So we're tong and bass. He cannot keep a hook in one to save his life. And every one of these guys is absolutely, oh, you're the big pro. Yeah. No, something was wrong with his timing. And he just, with a bait runner, And
then you start thinking about it, and you screw up even more.
I know he's counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh. And you're like, well, try 6 next time.
Count slower.
Yeah.
Count to 6, but slower.
How about this? How about I just lock it up and you put it in the rod holder, and when it laps over, you just start reeling in the fish? How does that work?
Dude, legitimately though, like I started fishing my drags with circle hooks locked up a lot more the past couple of years, and to be honest with you, I find it to be just as effective as letting it run.
Rodney the rod holder fishes just fine.
Yeah, they really do.
I mean, I'd rather have the rod in the client's hands because it's more fun to feel the bite and all that sort of stuff. But if you don't have experienced people and they don't mind doing it, Rodney the rod holder all day long.
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
And that was the other thing I kind of learned about, when I worked on the party boats, we fished circle hooks with either whole dead mackerel that we caught in the morning or whatever, clams. And they just had cheap little spinning reels, so they weren't letting anything run. But I'm just like sitting there. I remember watching them like, everyone says to let them run on circle hooks, but we have a pretty damn good hookup percentage for these people that have no idea what's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Either the fish has been swimming around with it for 3 minutes, or he just eats it.
You have no idea. No, you guys don't know until you've worked on a party boat drifting the mouth of the river with 30 people on each side, and 2 fish get hooked up, and people don't realize they're hooked up.
Yeah.
It is the whole trip. I'm untangling lines at that point.
I made it one day on the Yankee fleet.
One day?
One day.
One day as a mate?
Yeah. I think I was about 14. Got a job from Jerry Hill. He'd show up in the morning and he's got the frozen trash barrel full of clams.
Oh, the best.
So hacking away with a big knife all the way out there. It was rough as a prick. It was dead fog. So everyone on the boat's thrown up like 15 minutes into the day. We caught like 200 dogfish, and I'm like using the deck hose, blowing puke off the boat the whole way home. I was like, I got back. I was like, Jerry, I got to switch this.
Yeah, that's an incredible first trip. Yeah. That you checked all the boxes.
It was a beauty. Party boat fishing was not my
Well, it's funny when we worked there, like in the springtime, you get all these kids, it's like a high school, college kid. You get all these kids who are gung-ho, oh yeah, I love fishing. You're like, yeah, buddy, it really ain't what you think. And they literally say, all right, we're going to take you for a ride. Not to see if we like you, but just to see if you're okay with this,
Yep.
So many times, man, you're not even halfway out to Jeffrey's yet, and those kids are green. And then some of them stick, and it ends up being the best gig in the world,
absolutely.
But it sounds like you got a short end of the stick on that first one.
It was terrible. I couldn't understand how anyone would want to be out there on a day like that.
We actually, Dan, you probably talked to him a little bit more than I did. One of our Mouths of the Merrimack members, earlier last year, we have a private forum that we talk about, and he was asking about any fish jobs for his kid. And a couple of us that worked on the party boats, we all kind of do the Mouths of the Merrimack thing, and we suggested go out there and check it out. And he came up to us at the this Plum Island Surfcaster show a couple weeks ago, and he was like, dude, my kid is obsessed. He loves it. He had so much fun. He's 15, 16 years old. He goes, him and his buddies are sitting there, how they can figure out how to get more tips, how they can try new rigs and all this.
Already?
Yeah, man.
Good.
You got to hustle on those boats, man.
Yeah, you do. Yep, $3 tips.
Ugh, the worst one, those bass trips where are only 2.5 hours are the ones you do the most work for.
Yeah.
Because you got to re-rig all the rods for stripers for mackerel in the morning. You got to cut new bait, and then you have this hour-and-a-half thing, and man, you're just hoping you get the tide right because you can't really do anything else other than drift, So it's just like, all right, if we got 2 keepers, what a day.
Yeah.
But everyone pays you for what you cut, right?
Exactly.
So we do these trips, and we make like $5 in tips.
Yeah, and $1.50 an hour.
Yeah, and $1.50 an hour, pretty much. But the flounder trips are killer.
Yeah.
The flounder trips. Man, I haven't caught a flounder in so long.
Yeah, they still out there? I haven't even...
2 springs ago, there's 2 charter guys out of Beverly and me went on. One of the guys out of Beverly was like mid-May, raining, blowing 30. We were like, forget it. Let's go flounder fishing for the day.
Yeah.
I should have known. These guys both show up with custom flounder rods they've had made. Like, and they've got 3 of them that match with abbots on them and stuff. Like, you guys take this flounder thing pretty seriously.
Flounder pounding, baby.
Oh, yeah. So, we went a couple of secret spots over there on that side and just hammered flounder for the day. That was
nice.
It was a hoot.
Yeah, it was so
so much fun.
I know. I just haven't done it in so long. I don't think I've ever done it on my own boat.
I'm gonna do it this year.
Yeah.
I want a different fish.
And they're delicious.
Yeah, they're so good.
They're so good.
Let's go. Let's try to get an early trip in. before things
Remember the
get
joke
crazy
used to be you start to fillet them, you turn around, you turn back, the fish is just gone. Like, where'd it go? It's in the water.
Well, dude, the one going back to the party boat fishing, right? So, like, we used to fish just outside the mouth of the river for them, and like, it'd be like, all right, guys, time to go in, and it'd be hot and heavy. Like on a weekend, you'd have 45 people on the boat, and everyone would limit out.
Yeah.
And you'd have 12 minutes to cut all the fish on the way.
Yeah, and flounder.
Yeah, and they're flounder. They're not real speed demons to cut.
Yeah.
But man, those were the best. I think we literally caught them all. We really hammered that area.
spot.
Yeah. We're getting a few fluke kicking around though,
Yeah.
more so than past years. I mean, I always know there's a little subset of them, but
Yeah.
I've gotten quite a few. You know, Fallon got a couple last year. Have you gotten one?
No.
I had a couple. I had a guy throw a huge knot fishing the front of the beach in his fly line.
Yeah.
We were just drifting down the beach trying to untangle this knot, and bing, 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 line starts jumping in my hand as I'm untangling it. It's like a 4-pound fluke.
No shit.
That was a beauty.
Dude, yeah, I'll
Made it
take
fly
it.
off the
That's
boat.
awesome.
Yep.
I'll take them. To Tog, I just want to get out there and try it. That's another one. They're around.
Oh yeah.
What about, we got somebody, we won't mention his name, hellbent, absolutely hellbent to going offshore, out from Newburyport, not going to say where. Well, I'm not really sure he really knows anyway. Dying to get a swordfish. Wants a swordfish.
There's a charter captain out of Gloucester who shall remain nameless so his spot doesn't get taken. But he's hooked 3 in the past 10 years, only in this one spot.
No shit.
Yep. And he's landed 1, and he's gotten a look at the other 2.
Yeah.
I had a guy catch like a 450-pounder next to me in Ipswich Bay. Giant fishing, probably 10, 12 years ago.
I remember seeing the post, I think.
It was unreal. Like,
Oh, wasn't that after like a big storm or something?
it was.
Something had changed?
It
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
We were all fishing up in the bay, and
It's amazing how stories like that travel.
you
Even
see,
I knew
you
about.
see his
Right.
rod lap over,
A
and
decade ago.
he's, a guy gets off the ball, he starts backing down, and something jumps out of the water behind the boat. We were like,
Jumped and
"What
everything."
the hell was that?" Yeah, huge sword, like 450 sword.
Wow.
Big one.
Well, I know the whale watch boats because we used to work on the party boat,
Yeah.
so they let us know. Like they see 1 or 2 sunbathing, like right in Jeffries or right on the bay every
Oh, yeah.
year.
Yep.
And I don't know this because this was before my time, before I started saltwater fishing. But I heard there used to be a really big harpoon sword fishery around Cape Ann. Is that true?
More south of the vineyard.
More south of the
There
vineyard.
was
Okay.
a huge surface harpoon fishery south
Yeah.
of the vineyard early on.
No shit.
But no, I'm sure they did it up here as well.
Yeah. That's crazy. So what do you think? You think he's got the chance? He's a very good fisherman.
Oh, yeah, I mean, if you put your time in, you're going to get them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they're here. The problem is, I don't think they like coming over the top of George's and into the inside stuff quite as much.
Yeah.
But as we get more and more of those big moldy squid in here,
Yeah.
they're gonna show up more and more for sure.
I tell you one thing, like I don't know if you care about it, but the shark fishing's been unreal in terms of like the makos and
Silly.
threshers.
Yep.
The past few years,
Huge threshers.
huge.
Hey, do you think they're going to open up Mako again next year?
No,
I doubt
no
it.
way. They're never going to open anything like that.
I feel like once they get it, it's gone, right?
Yeah.
That seems to be par for the course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I killed one probably 10 years ago when it was 3-a-day giants, and we had just caught 2. We had 2 hanging, fighting a third one. Mako came up while we were fighting the third one. Pitched a bait to the Mako and caught the Mako too. So we had three giants. They were all like 85 inches, and then had like a 250-pound Mako to boot. It was a hell of a day.
That's a fucking season for most people.
It was awesome.
We do you want to tell them the story of ours?
Chris and I and my father-in-law had just an amazing experience. We hooked up, and it was probably a 70-inch fish tuna, and we won't know ever how long it was because it got
I'd say it's probably high
by Mako.
50s.
Yeah, but it was, I would say I said 63 inches.
Yeah,
Who
probably
knows, 'cause
somewhere.
we
in
only
there.
got 2/3 of it. A Mako
Yeah.
literally ate
Came
the
up,
back
took
of it.
the tail right off
and then
it.
we caught the Mako.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but we couldn't kill the Mako. But we could have killed it
Yeah.
like 6 times.
I'm reeling in the tuna. I'm like, I don't know, man. This feels fucking weird.
It's just a
and then,
huge
and then all of a sudden, I
cloud of
just see
red
this
behind it.
cloud of red. I'm like, oh no.
Something ate it.
So I'm cranking up, and I'm like, Dan, get the gaff. There's a Mako underneath it, and he gaffs the tuna. And as he pulls it up, the Mako just comes out like
right
out of a movie, dude.
That's awesome.
So I went back down. I'm like, shit. I'm like, of course, all my like pre-made shark leaders and everything's not on the boat.
Yeah.
So I go underneath. I get a snippet of wire. I rigged up a haywire twist. I just made it like I usually do like a long wind-on leader of like 400 pounds,
Yep.
like a short bite. I'm like, nope, we'll just go like 10 feet of wire. That's all we got. Pitched it back there. His father-in-law's cutting little pieces of the tuna and flicking it out. We're dumping blood over the side. And this thing was just going around, and it wouldn't bite anything. Chunks of tuna, whatever. And then I made, after like 10 minutes, I'm like, let's try this. Did a little something, threw it in the water. The thing went, whoop, came right up. We were tight. We got a jump out of it. I've never had one jump. I feel like 8 or 9.
Awesome,
but the jump was so sick.
It was actually funny though, because like at first it was like a dink, right? There was like Robotron was here, and he was just like eating what he wanted, and then all of a sudden it turned on, and he started running like a banshee.
Yeah.
And then he's out probably 100 yards away from the boat, maybe even more, and he's jumping like an animal. And then you finally get him in, and it was almost like when we cut him off, he was like docile, just like swam.
Dude, he
like,
just sat there. He didn't do anything.
I was like, what is going on? This is the weirdest fish I've ever caught.
They are.
I'll tell you one thing. It was really cool. That whole time we were like feeding him and like trying to get him to bite. This fucking thing, Nat, it was going by the side. It was circling the boat. But as it was going, I'll never forget it, was tilting its body
To look at you.
and his eyes were matching my
yeah.
eyes. Like he knew something was up, and I was like, "Well, you gonna eat it? You want to fuck around and find out?"
I got one like that with a white shark. So
Yep.
This was one of the few times we were trolling squid bars down the bank. This client of mine, Ron Butler, you were watching the video earlier, rolling that 700 pounder over the side.
Yeah,
of the
Nat walked in on me watching YouTube videos of him.
That's funny.
That same guy that caught that 700 pounder stand up, he was with me, and we had Mary Lee, which O-Search is now tagged, this huge white
Yep.
shark. So we.
Was that the first one? They think
It was one of the early
first
ones, but
yeah.
she had a big chunk out of the top of her dorsal fin, is how we knew it. So we hook a fish, trolling, he's reeling the thing in, we're going to let it go, and I got the top end of the squid rig in my hand, and you still got all those squid in the water, and I'm like pulling the squid rig over the top of my back, trying to lead her this. It was like a 65-inch fish. And here she is. This white shark comes up, and she's like 10, 12 feet from the boat, and she's right behind this tuna fish. The boat's still in gear, and the tuna's just swimming, and I'm pulling on it, and I was like, guys, get your camera. He's going to eat this thing. He's going to eat it. Doesn't eat it. Doesn't eat it. Doesn't eat it. Like 5, 6, 7 minutes. He's just swimming along. Tuna fish is just paddling on the leader, and this white shark is just nose right to the tail of this thing with its back out of water. We were freaking out. So then I'm like, finally she kind of gets a little skittish and kind of comes over towards the boat and goes back towards the boat. So I just take the throttles and just, and she fades off. I was like, all right, now I gotta hand line this friggin' tuna fish in and like pop the hook out of its mouth. I'm just waiting for a wall of teeth.
Yeah, no kidding.
Seriously.
Never saw it again. Never took a shot at the fish. Never did it. I don't know if it was because all the squid were in the water or because, the way we were revving the engines and stuff that scared away. But yeah, we had like a 16-foot white shark following right to the boat. Wow. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Did you, a few years ago, did you catch a mako inside?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I think that was the same one, the same year. It was about a week or two after I had an encounter with him.
Yep.
I had it, so in 2 days, one was August 9th. I only know that because it's the kid's birthday that comes out with me every year. And so the other one would have been like August 6th.
Yep.
We were trolling real tight to the beach, trolling pogies, and we had a good-sized striper on one day, and a fucking white shark just came right behind the boat. Everyone was just like, "Oh my god!"
That like 9-10 footer.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he was there for all
He was there
summer.
for a while.
Yep.
He was there for a while.
He was well trained.
But then, that 3 days later, whatever it was, almost the exact same numbers, Nat.
Yep.
I look over and my pogie, we were fishing real tight. My pogie's up on the beach. I'm like, oh, something's chasing it. And then I see this fin. I'm like, oh God, it's that great white. And I actually had a shock rod, like ready to go.
Yep.
But of course, it ate that one, and that was a mako. It wasn't the great white.
That was up on the beach.
So we fought him for a good 20 minutes on bass gear.
Nice.
Before he kind of rolled over. And it was about the same. It was probably it was smaller than the white.
Yeah.
And then an hour later, we just see the fin come. I don't know if it was a different one, but another one. We pulled around, and we had the shark gear, and we were tossing anything we could at it, and it just didn't want anything. And then I think I saw on Instagram a few weeks later, you got one. You had a picture of the mako inside.
Yeah, got him.
So congratulations. That's awesome.
That white shark, he had me dialed in. For one little spot there, I fish it on the same tide every single day. I would come off plane, and I'd be idling towards the beach, and then you look over, and the thing would be 6 feet off the side of the boat, swimming along, looking at you.
No shit.
And he would follow me all the way to the beach, and I'd put 2 mackerel out, and he'd drop back, and he'd be, if you got up on the top of the roof and looked way back, you could see him. He'd be like 150 yards behind you. And he'd wait for you to hook a bass, and he'd eat it. He'd wait for you to hook a bass, and he'd eat it.
Wow, no kidding.
And he was good for like 3 or 4 bass, and then he'd leave you alone. The rest of the day, he'd just disappear.
No shit.
But that thing you'd come off plane, you'd be like, hey, everybody want to see a white shark? And I'm like, oh, yeah. No, he's right there. He's right off the side of the boat looking at us.
Did I ever tell you this story?
That's funny that they're bright like that, though. You know.
This thing absolutely had me dialed.
Yeah. He was like, I want to follow this boat.
Yep. Instant get my 3 bass for the day. And
you probably knew it was you too, right?
Probably sound of the boat, same spot, same tide.
Yep. He's like, guys, here's what's happened. This guy's coming in with this boat, and he's catching bass. We got to get on him.
Yep.
The first shark I ever saw out in the water was actually, we were in my dad's old boat. So this was like a 1987 well-craft coastal, like walk-around boat, typical first family boat.
Yep.
And I think we were bluefishing, or we were going down the beach to start bluefishing because we were underway. And I'm just sitting like in the little side chair. I must have been 9 or 10 probably when we had that boat. And I look down right in the wash on the side of the boat, and I weren't playing. I see a shark fin come up. I'm like, dude, Dad, fucking shark fin. He's like, what? He's like, don't do that. You're scaring me. What do you mean? We're looking around. He's like, you're out of your fucking mind, kid. So we get back up on plane again. I'm like, now I'm in tent. And I look down, I'm like, dude, oh my God, it's right there. And he stops the boat. He's like, are you out of your mind? And then about 50 yards behind the boat, we saw the fin kind of like just going around. And he goes, we had no idea. This is our second year with the boat. He gets on the wheel and guns towards him. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, we're going to catch that motherfucker.
My dad and his buddy Charlie have been fishing together for 60 years now.
Wow.
His best buddy that he fishes with. And Charlie, way back in the day, had an old 23 Seacraft out of Manchester. And they would troll bunker spoons on wire on the bank for 50-pound bass. That was their thing. And there was like a certain 3 weeks when they'd go do it. And always catch 50s. And one day they're out there trolling, and this, I don't know what kind of shark it was, but it came up and it ate the propeller off the boat. Literally, as they're trolling,
right off of it,
just flashing propeller like a spoon came up and went whoop, and literally broke the lower unit enough that it got the freaking propeller off the back of the boat.
Oh my!
And they were stuck on Stellwagen for the rest of the day until they got towed in.
That's wild.
That is amazing.
That's absolutely wild. Jesus Christ, your father and his buddy, 60 years fishing together. Imagine the knowledge that's in their heads.
Oh, he drives me freaking nuts. Hey, Charlie and I are going in the morning. What have you been doing? Well, Dad, I'm going here. I get my mackerel here. I'm going here. We're doing this, and that's what we're doing. Oh, that's great. That's great. I think you'll see me out there in the morning. That'd be fantastic. All right, great, Dad. Don't see you there. Just kind of sneak in. Don't get so close so we don't look like a group of boats on its feet or anything. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Then he calls me at like 9 o'clock in the morning. Hey, how's it going? I was like, we're slaughtering them. Where are you? We decided to fish the inside of the Annisquam today. It's a little breezy. It's like 3 knots of breeze. They're both in their 80s. So, I think half the fun is just getting off the dock and drinking.
I think your dad and my dad got to hang out.
Yeah.
Dude, my dad's so bad, right? Sorry, Dad. I love you to death. My regular customers, my phone will ring like at 8:15 in the morning, and they'll just go, how's the seas? Before I even answer it.
Hey, Chris.
And I pull it up. Hey, how's the seas?
Oh, yeah.
How's the fishing? Dude, I told you, we were hammering it. Why weren't you out here this morning?
Yeah.
I got fucking yard work to do. I'm like, you're a teacher. Do it tomorrow.
It is funny, though, when he does end up showing up and then, the bite's gone. And it's just like,
I suck. I'm selling my boat.
Get all the fish away. Oh, that's funny.
No, but that's right. That's so funny. It's like, he'll call me the night before. What are you doing tomorrow? I'll, give him kind of the idea, And so many times, like 8:30, I get that phone call. Yeah. How is it out there?
Yeah, I'm just leaving the dock now.
No. I think we got to run an errand, and then your mother's got to walk the dog. We'll come down at 1 or 2. I'm like, great. I'll be off the water.
Yeah. Enjoy that dead low tide.
Going back. Yeah, exactly, exactly. But it's too funny.
That's great though. I mean, I can't imagine 60 years of fishing with somebody on a weekly basis.
I'll tell you what though. I love the times I do get to go out and fish with my dad now. We don't get them them often too much.
No,
you know,
we fish side by side more than we fish together. It's it's kind of sad.
Yeah, actually, I think my father and I were pretty good handling each other on the boats this year. You were out on most of them. We got out together.
Except for the one day we hooked the tuna.
Yeah, well, I was a little moody that day. That was one of those, you know, you do a string of double sixes and then these guys fucking talk me out to go out to Southern Jeffries, and beautiful day until you get to Southern Jeffries. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was that southwest wind, and it was
No, it shifted southeast. It shifted hard, and it was blowing. And right when we're like, all right, we got to give this 5 more minutes, then we got to get the fuck out of here.
Always
Lost it in gear that we couldn't even see. We couldn't even spin out of it, man. Like, we had it like off the starboard corner, and we couldn't even turn the boat around into the waves. It was so bad.
Yeah.
You know, it was really rough. And then that ride home was terrible. And I wasn't mad at him. I didn't argue
mad
with
at
him.
The situation.
I was very mad at the situation.
I just thought it was funny. Here we are in a 24-foot Mod V, and the waves are like 4-footers at this point, and they're really tight together, and Chris is just going 30 miles an hour.
I was like, I just wanted to go home.
I like going home.
Like, you guys are going to eat it. I'm so mad right now. Why did I do this? Tomorrow's Saturday. I got to deal with Saturday crowd with this attitude right now.
Nice.
Yep. Did get the bow down nice, though. Got nice and wet.
Yeah, we made it.
Yep. And it's a story.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, that's great.
Yeah, I remember just like back in the day, my father and I just used to argue about the dumbest shit. Like, how, you know what I mean? Why are you using a 2-ounce? Why don't you mind your business? What are you using? You ain't catching shit.
I think that was like, you know how all young men feel like they have to finally prove themselves to their father. We had our big blowout out in the Essex River in a skiff, and I wanted to fish one rock pile, and he wanted to fish another rock pile, and I told him he was stupid. And he told me I was stupid. We went at it for like 45 minutes about everything I'd ever done wrong in my entire life, and went home.
So, did you guys pick a pile to fish on?
No, I don't think we went home. I think that was the end of the day.
I think there comes a time in every young man's life where he just learns to shut up and do what he's told.
Yeah.
Exactly. Unfortunately, it's later rather than sooner, right?
Yeah. That's funny. That's awesome.
Johnny V loves trolling, though. He loves driving the boat and just trolling around. It's like his favorite thing. He's in his element.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I took my dad tuna fishing once. Caught one. He was like, "Man, okay, that's it. I'm done. That's too much work. Never going again." Wants no part of it. Been striper fishing his whole life.
Oh man, that must be it must be a challenge running charters for Giants, because that's a long day, especially with somebody you don't know, and their hopes are high, and they traveled from
they flew in from Texas for 3 days, and they got a hotel booked. And, putting 3 days back to back, and it's the middle of July, and it's absolutely flat, oil slick calm. I mean, there is nothing to do, and we didn't get bid on that tide change, and now we got 6 hours before we read our next fish on the screen. It's hard.
And you just gotta keep engaging, and like you said, they got it for 3 days, and it's like, shit, what am I gonna talk about tomorrow? That's why I can't do it.
It's hard
to go from like all the action of stripers and everything.
Or even run and gun and small tuna.
At
least you're driving.
At least you're driving around.
For stuff. Casting occasionally, jigging occasionally, doing something.
How many times do you get out there, set anchor, everything perfect? It's an hour, and they're like, "So, Cap, is there any other spots you'd like to try?
Can we get haddock while we're here?" It's like, nope. We already got our bait. I'm not even gonna let you jig the bottom of the sabiki yet anymore.
Done.
What we are doing is sitting here, have another water.
And, stay hydrated.
I promise you, we are gonna mark 3 fish at 2:15 this afternoon. I'm sorry that it's 9 a.m.
but we had to get our bait.
We had to get our bait in the dark. This is the best I got for you today.
Hope you didn't forget your sunscreen.
Which they do all the time. It's October.
Hey, Cap,
on a
you got
tuna
your
charter.
sunscreen?
It's showing up in loafers and a pair of shorts, and it's just...
You're like, what the hell's going on? Somebody whips out a banana. You're like, Jesus Christ.
I actually proved the banana thing. And that was one of the years that we were trolling squid bars on the northern end of the bank. And it was absolutely lights up. It was 5:15, 5:30, 5:45. If you catch your 3 fish, you go home. And it was every single day. It was a light thing more than a tide thing. It didn't just day to day to day. And This has been going on for 3 weeks. Like, go out, troll up your 3 fish. You're trolling this way in the morning. Then you troll back over the same spot. You catch another one. Then you troll back over the same spot. You catch your 3rd one. That's over. I go over it the first time, 5 o'clock, 5:10, 5:15. So we should have had a bite right there. Come back around. This is going to be the 5:30 bite. Second opportunity of the day. Troll over the thing. No bite. Jesus, did you guys bring bananas? And the guy goes, yeah, I got a whole bunch. It's like, he brought a whole bunch of bananas on my boat. He's like, absolutely. So then it's 8 minutes of telling the story of why you don't put bananas on the boat, right? And the whole time he's breaking one off the bunch and throwing it over the side.
Yeah.
Breaking one off the bunch and throwing it over the side. Totally turned into this whole thing. Last banana, Cap. And literally I've got a black squid rig 4 feet off the transom, right off the rod tip, and they were crushing it. He throws the last banana. It lands. It floats within 2 feet of the stinger on the black bar that's at the back of the thing, and this fish just goes boo! Absolutely smokes the squid bar. I was like, "See you, motherfucker!" We're down to 1 bite here, and I told you had to get rid of those friggin' bananas. The guy was like, "Oh my god,
dude!" I got like 7 or 8 stories, just not as cool with tuna, but yeah, same thing, man.
It's bad luck.
We were just bass fishing one day, spot lock, throwing liveys out, right? And we just start hammering fish, and like, it's going to get better. Like, I know it's going to get even better. And all of a sudden, one of the guys just stops for a minute and whips out a banana. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Get that fucking thing off the boat. Yeah. And he's like, no, man. Like, one of those. I was like, no, it's my banana. Like, we're like starting to fight me. I'm like, I'm not joking, dude. Get that thing off the boat. We didn't catch a fish. He ate a banana. Fucking pulls out another one, right? I'm like, dude, what are you doing? His buddies are starting busting his balls. So he finishes his banana. I'm like, another 5 minutes. I'm sitting here like 15 minutes now, not catching anything. Yeah. And I'm like, the fuck? Like, I know this bite's going to turn on. And then his buddies are busting his balls. They're like, did you finish your bananas, man? And he's like, yeah. And like, I look down in the trash, and there's the banana peels. I go, dude, all of it off the boat. And I threw it. That thing hits the water. Boom, boom, double hookup. Throw a pitch back. Boom, 40-incher. Yep. And he didn't even move. He just looked at me and he's like, I'm so sorry. Yeah. I'm so sorry. I'm like, dude, no bananas on the boat.
You know why there's no banana in the Fruit of the Loom logo? Ralph Delf apparently made the owner, CEO of Fruit of the Loom remove the banana from the original logo because he didn't want bananas in people's underwear.
Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome.
We, so when I was, a few years ago, I was teaching. It's always like a big joke because all the other teachers tell the kids too, like, don't eat a banana around Mr. V. So they have to eat a banana in my room. It's after Halloween and then tax day. Yeah. Like right now, April 1st. Yeah. Right now.
Then you got to start weeding
no bananas. So when I have kids, like, I'll say nope, and they stand out in the hallway now and will eat the banana. This is true. Oh, yeah. So one day I had just gotten my new boat, the Seahawks. Just got it. Put it in the water, ready to go. We've done a couple trips. It was Memorial Day weekend coming up. I had the full day, a couple charters. I took Memorial Day off to really rip it and have fun. And I come back from lunch on Friday, and there's a banana on my desk with a note, have fun this weekend.
Oh, you're kidding
From one of my students, right? Dan was on that trip that Monday on Memorial Day. What happened?
Wait, was I? I don't.
That was the trip. The gas gauge was broken.
Oh yeah, the gas gauge.
Well, it wasn't calibrated because it was a digital one, so I didn't know. No. And it said it was half full. It's a brand new boat, and we're buzzing around, just having a blast, and all of a sudden, dead in the water. And I went back to school, and I was like, "Who put that damn banana on the boat? Who put?" And they're all laughing. They're like, "Why? Did something happen?" I'm like, "Yeah, my boat broke down. My brand new boat broke down."
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Yeah. And they didn't believe me. I'm like, nope, you can't have the bananas, dude. Dunzo.
That story is awesome, though. Chris just got this brand new boat. It feels like you're riding on rails, It's just so nice, the ride. He's like smiling.
Memorial Day, flags, music, CCR blasting.
I hope that's not my new motor.
Yeah. What happened?
Oh, that's funny.
Pete Murray saved the day. He was a little shuttle bus getting us back and forth. So
nice.
Yeah, fuck bananas.
No banana chips, no banana muffins.
No banana bread.
No banana boat sunscreen.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, I've definitely removed all of those.
Copper tone. There you go.
Yep. Maybe some Hawaiian tropic. Who knows? Panama Jack.
No.
Anything.
Do you have any good luck fruits that you bring aboard?
No. Peanuts. Peanuts are usually good.
Peanuts.
And there was a run in the late 80s, early 90s where I wouldn't leave the dock to go giant fishing without Parmesan goldfish.
No shit,
okay.
that's very specific.
Several years worth of Parmesan.
Wow.
Yep. Wouldn't leave the dock.
Was this one of those tricks? You get some of the stuff on your fingers and it rubs the herring.
You were
Like-
chunking at the time.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. But yeah, if we had the Parmesan goldfish, we caught a fish.
Yeah.
That's how I ended up with the name Night Heron. There was a night heron in Manchester, and if we saw the night heron on our way out fishing, we caught one every single time for 3 seasons running.
Oh shit.
If we saw that bird, we knew we were getting tight. It didn't even matter where we went. Just go out, throw a hook in the water. You're gonna catch a giant.
No kidding, huh?
And I always said, my next big boat, I'll name it Night Heron. Just keep that bird with
So
me.
there you go. I was gonna ask. That was one of my questions tonight. Where did the name Night Heron come from? That's a really cool
It's
story.
a good luck bird.
No shit.
Yeah. Years and years. And so everyone's on full Night Heron patrol every day when you're leaving the dock.
Yeah.
Looking for the thing. But
I got him.
I got him. There he is.
It's gonna work today, boys.
Yep.
So we talked about your most memorable fish. What's the heaviest fish you've ever weighed?
I had one probably 1080, 1090. It dressed 840 something. I had one in 2018 that was only 114 inches, dressed 747.
Wow.
So that was probably a grander.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a
Oh,
most
fatty.
totally different looking fish too, like one of those giant Canadian fish. Just happened to show up inshore. But yeah, I think that 1080 was as big. I don't think I've broken 11. I've a lot of 9s.
Yeah.
I'm not sure a lot of people have, man. That's incredible.
I mean, anything over 700.
Grander.
Yeah.
Have you ever done any trips up to like PEI? Have you been
No,
up there?
never have.
No?
Never have. And all the videos come out of there just hand feeding them in the chum. Looks so entertaining.
Yeah.
Right? So speaking of chum, no one does that anymore, I feel like, right?
all
That's
gave
kind of a
up.
lost art.
We all gave it up when the dogs showed up.
Was that with the dogfish situation?
When they stopped the commercial fishing for dogs, for those couple of years there was this panic that the dogfish were endangered because they didn't catch any males, and the 2 toes they made, they shut down the whole commercial dog fishery, and you could walk on the things. I remember green stick fishing on Jeffries one time when those dogs were so thick, and we were snagging dogfish on the green stick.
No
You'd
way.
look back and there'd just be a back hook dog flopping on the green. They were so thick you were snagging them on on squid that were only in the water half the time.
So for the people that are listening right now might not know what green stick fishing is, could you give us a little explanation to the people?
Like picture a giant outrigger off the top of the boat, and then you've got a rod line that runs up, or a hydraulic bandit reel, or however you end up doing it, that runs up, goes off of a breakaway piece of 100-pound off the top of the green stick, this giant outrigger, then back to something that's dragging in the water, the bird typically with a polyball behind it so you can recover it if you break the main line. And off of that angle that's going back, you have long line clips with individual squid hanging off them. And the whole trick is getting them to kind of swim for a second and then jump out of the water, and swim for a second and jump out of the water. And when you see fish eat it, it's
It must be absolutely epic.
absolutely insane. Now, I've only seen something actually eat one a couple of times.
Yeah, I was just going to say, how prevalent was this green stick fishery?
Up here in the Northeast, everyone thought it was going to be hot because it took off in the canyons in North Carolina.
Yeah, North Carolina, right?
And I don't know why the giants up here don't seem to respond to it as much, but it's funny. You think about like white-sided dolphins. Almost never do you fish on dolphins up here, particularly to catch giants.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're in the same area because of bait, but you're not fishing on a school of giants and a school of whitesides working together ever.
Yeah.
Southeast of the Cape, totally different. The guys will actually track down dolphins and fish on them, same way they do in the canyons and everything else.
I feel like anything that comes north of the Cape just acts completely different than everywhere else in the world. And then Cape Ann's the other barrier.
Yeah.
I feel like your fishery down off of Gloucester is like a lot different than mine out of the Merrimack.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep. Our bass fishery is very different down there. Like, even because I switch back and forth between the two sides. The south side, I feel like I'm fishing resident fish that are doing the same thing every day.
Yeah.
And the north side, I'm maybe it's the way I target fish, but I'm targeting moving schools of migrating fish.
Yeah.
Typically. It's a way different sort of fishery.
It really is.
The rock versus the sand. But both are good. Both could be really good.
Yeah, they're just different.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not saying one's either worse or better. It's just totally different fisheries.
No, but
Like, we don't have resident fish in the rocks, like, at the rate that you do.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, there are holes that for, 25 years now, I know if I go to that hole, I can throw a fly, a sluggo, a soft plastic, a mackerel in there and catch a fish. I mean, there's like, that group of fish is always in that hole. And you watch them grow from little ones to big ones, and then they go off and do something else, and a new body of little ones takes right over in the same exact spot.
Yeah.
Some of that water is just so good and so productive. But then, up on the sand, if you went to the same exact spot every single day, I think half the time they'd be there, half the time they wouldn't.
And then sometimes too, like, even when I'm fishing on the beach, it's like, well, is this the year or the week they're going to be in 5 feet of water? Or are they going to be in
3?
12? Are they going to be in 30 today?
Right.
Oh, should I go to the 3 mile line? Are they out there?
Right.
And those are all the different factors. The more you fish it, you at least can get some ideas of where to start.
Yeah.
But like you said, it seems like those fish are just migrating schools.
Yeah.
And finding that school is the key to that.
Yeah. Anytime that, on an incoming tide, for example, in a couple of spots I fish, the fish are always moving north to south on the incomer, and then they don't show there on the outgoing tide. They move to a different area and go the other way. But that if it's incoming tide and it's X time of day, those fish are all going to be, every single one of them is moving north to south, and you can just kind of peck at them like tarpon and work your way up the beach.
Yeah.
And that's been going for 10, 15 years now. That those bodies of migrating fish seem to do that exact thing every year, regardless of size.
Yeah, and I agree. And like that's just coming like, I don't know, say like, we do a lot of slow trolling baits and stuff like that. And you'll see it like on your fish finder if you're marking your spots like just throughout the day, throughout the tide. You find that kind of that one little fault line that they're on and kind of hang on that and find the better structure upon it and hammer that.
Yep.
But you'll see that movement linearly down the beach.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's a really cool fish. I love the beachfront fishing, to be honest with you.
It is.
Like, because you never know what you're really going to get into.
Yeah.
Like, are you going to pull in a million schoolies and some slots? Are you going to get into a 6 slot bite? Or are you going to find that fucking school of jumbos? Yeah.
Yep.
So it's always interesting.
Yep. I like the visual aspect up there sometimes too. And, when I'm fishing deep water, fishing the rocks all the time, it's nice to break it up and go up there and actually see the fish going.
Yeah, I like when I see your boat kicking around because I think I'm doing something somewhat right. One of the first charters I ever took down to the southern end of the island, I remember it was like the first year mackerel didn't really come in till super late. And I went and the stripers in the Merrimack haven't really turned on yet. Like there was some around, but it wasn't great. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go down the Parker. Now I fished the Parker myself, but I don't think at this point I'd never taken a charter. It might have been my second or third year. So I was still pretty green, right? So I'm like, all right, I'll go down there. I think I could figure it out. Let me see how I'll do it with clients. And I pulled in there and I saw the Jupiter. And I was like, all right, I'm doing something right. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm doing something right.
Yeah, I don't fish up skinny anymore, but that's what I did a ton of.
Yeah.
Running around up in that shallow stuff. It's pretty fun.
It is wicked fun. Yeah, the shallow water stuff is great.
A ton of huge fish in there, for
Absolutely.
Sure. But
I probably caught the majority of my big fish in like 7 feet or less, at least, 5 feet.
Yeah, very often.
Yeah.
It's a lot of times it's the places nobody else wants to go.
Yeah.
I fish a lot of laid up fish that are just hiding from boat traffic, especially on the weekends. The little notches where nobody's going.
Yep.
It's like the old horseshoe off of Manchester. There was a rock pile. It was probably 200 yards wide, and it formed a perfect horseshoe. But it was all boulders, and nobody would ever
dared to go in.
There was one little path you could get up in there, and you'd pull in, and there would be just bass laid up with their backs out of water, just laying in 3 feet, 2 feet of water over these giant rocks. And we fished it for a couple of years, and then the sea urchins got wicked expensive.
Yeah.
And all the main sea urchin divers came down, and they cleaned every sea urchin off of the top of that rock pile. Never saw another bass in there.
Wow.
No shit.
That was another good story, though. I almost died in there, too. I was out with my buddy Nick Allen, huge swell going. Nick brings this giant chocolate lab. He's got huge swell. It's breaking. The whole horseshoe was breaking, but it was just barely deep enough in the trough that you could sit in there without getting killed. And we're there. We get up in there. He gets a huge, like 46, 47-inch fish on the fly on his first cast. We double up on the second cast, and I hear a noise behind me, and I turn around, and one of these rogue wave swells has just closed out the open side of the whole bowl. Ooh. So I can't run away from it over the rocks in the front, because that's definitely going to kill us. So I turn around. We're both holding rods with fish on it, dumping line, and I punch it into this breaking 8-10 foot wave, and the skiff goes right through it, and it, like green water over our heads. And we turn around, and his dog got washed off the boat as we went through this friggin' wave. And the dog's paddling around up in there. Now we're both hooked up. We got, like, dumped half our backing off the reels trying to get out from under this wave. We got to drive back up in there in the breaking surf to go get his dog. It's a good thing it was a lap. The thing was paddling around.
He was just having a great old time. He's like, guys, don't worry, I got it. I'll meet you on the beach.
Yeah, that was a good one. But those little fisheries like that. And
did you land the fish?
We got them both.
Yeah, all right.
We got them both. They were all huge. They were all,
Nat Moody, of course, he landed the fish.
They were all mid 40-inch bass eating flies.
Oh my god,
so good, such a good spot. And then literally taking all the. I don't know if the rock rollers, when the big boats would get up on the edges of it, would take all the seaweed and that killed all the urchins, or they just took every urchin off it and that allowed something else to grow in that place, whatever the urchins were eating out of there that then took over. But it's never been the same since.
You know, it's funny. That's like the second or third story you've told us today that there's been an ecological change in the environment with something as simple as the water plant.
Yep.
Yeah.
Boston water plant getting all the sand eels
affecting the sand eels, affecting the tuna, affecting the stripers out there. I mean, I don't know. I haven't been really fishing Stellwagen hard. There's still stripers out there like they used to be.
Nope, not at all.
Nothing, right?
Nope.
And then you talk about the sea urchins inside here. I mean, we're dealing now this year, they're dredging the mouth. Last time they dredged the mouth, it took like 2 years for that to turn back on again.
Yep, absolutely.
You know, so it's like, that's our little go-to honey hole. It's like, oh shit, let's go drift the mouth.
There's always going to be some fish there.
There's always going to be some fish there, you know. So,
I'm curious as to see how that bite's going to be this year, though, with all the dredging and everything that happened.
Yeah, I know. I'm wondering how
it's going to change.
If it's going to be good or bad.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll find out soon enough.
Yeah, it's coming right up.
Yeah, I know. You do haddock trips this time of year? Or
No. I mean, nobody wants to go out in an open 31-footer in April to go out, bob around and catch a bunch of... I mean, 2 years ago and 3 years ago, when it was go catch your limit in 45 minutes and you're home by 9 a.m. sort of thing, I took a bunch of guys. But I'm not going to go run around or sit on anchor out there in April, freeze our ass off for a couple of haddock.
Yeah, especially because like that Stellwagen bite hasn't been as great as it used to be, right?
No, not at all.
See, it's been the opposite for us up here. Like our bites have been great. Yeah. Good. We've had some really phenomenal haddock trips in April, May.
Yeah, this past 4 years we've limited out on our opening day.
Yeah,
nice.
We didn't get to go this year.
And like typically that's a slow start too, because like by the mid-April it's like really good.
It's starting to get really good.
Yeah.
Once water gets to like 45, they tend to turn on.
Yeah, some of my trips in May last year was sick. We'd go out, haddock fish, and then be back in the river at 11 and then go fuck around with schoolie stripers that just came in for a couple hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys fish here. I'm going to fillet these up. Like, they didn't care. They just wanted to catch a couple schoolies.
Perfect.
We were even catching haddock on slow pitch jigs last year.
Nice.
That was fun, dude. You ever do that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
We used to get them on the jig pretty good.
Yeah, like super, those Japanese light rods, those slow pitch rods, 20-pound tests.
Nice.
Yeah. Dude, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. So, like, just switching things up like that, keeping it interesting,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, not so many haddock trips anymore, anyway. If the fishing comes back when it's close and...
Yeah, well, that's also nice, too, is that you only have that 13-mile run. Yeah. So, like, when I book a haddock trip, I got the 24-footer, and we're running, I don't know, anywhere between 18 to 35 miles, you know? And, we got to have the weather, too, which, in April,
it's dicey. No, it was nice when the fish were all up on top of the bank, and you're bait fishing in 100 feet of water, and 12 turns of the handle to get up and down instead of fishing east side of Tilly's and 280.
280? Oh.
20 ounces of lead.
People don't realize it until you're fishing in 280 feet with 20-ounce lead.
Yeah.
with mono on a party boat.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a rough day.
That's a rough day.
That'll weigh you down.
Yeah. Or you limit out on haddock and they go, oh, yeah, is there someplace we can catch redfish?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, but you're going to hate it.
Yeah, you're not going to like get one bit.
We can go do it, but yeah.
The redfish bite was fire last year.
I know, yeah. I hope they're a little bit bigger this year. I got some huge ones last year, though.
No.
Yeah.
Fallon actually in the group text today said, we should do a tournament for the biggest redfish this year on the boat.
Nice.
Yeah, that was that good.
Yeah.
So.
Pigeon Hill.
I think we're kind of spoiled with the technology now, though. Like having the power gear reels, I don't know, it's a lot easier. It's not the work like it once was.
Yeah, not fishing the old lammy glass BA cod, 8-foot blank.
Yeah.
8-foot lammy glass with the 113.
Yeah, the broomstick.
113 each.
With the little tiny handle.
Yeah, with like 80-pound Dacron on it.
It's so funny because, I think it was last year, I gave a seminar to the Plum Island Surfcasters, and they're a great group. They're really cool. I do a lot of stuff with them, and but it's more of an old school type of vibe, right? Yeah. So I did a little thing on haddock, and I had my rods and reels. I got Torium 16s on just little ugly stick jigging rods, right? And they were like, "You use this for haddock?" And then every single one of them. I remember on the potty boats with my dad, we had these big, huge swinging 16-ounce jigs.
Oh yeah, 16.
This is unbelievable. I'm like, yeah, man, it's nice.
Yeah, it's a whole different world.
I wouldn't do it if we couldn't use that anymore.
No.
I'll tell you one thing. After working on the potty boats, I'm like, I'm never catching another goddamn haddock again. Another haddock, a cod, I'm done. But you know what?
Yeah, come February, you're praying, you're begging, waiting for haddock.
Well, that's what it is too. These are actually some of my favorite trips of the year because it's the beginning of the season. Usually, the guys that are coming out are guys that are just obsessed with fishing.
Yeah.
And when you get a good weather day, I'm limited to weekends because of my day job.
Yeah.
But if we get a day, we get a bunch of guys out there, it's fun. The camaraderie of that haddock fishing, it's a different change of pace.
Yeah, there's a lot less stress.
I don't feel like I'm gotta be on top of everything. It's all right, we're here, drop your bait down.
Yeah.
Think, think, think. All right, cool, you got them?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. You up front, you haven't caught one in 8 minutes.
Yeah.
My guess is you got no clam left on.
Check your bait.
Why don't you reel that up and take a look?
Check your bait. But
no, I'm anxious to get going on the bass though, for sure.
Yeah. What do you think? You think we'll have an early year, spring, late spring, kind of right in the middle?
You know what? These warmer winters I find are not as consistently early arrival fish.
I agree with that. It seems to be the colder, wetter winters.
Yep, and always better bait on a colder winter.
Yep.
It'll be an interesting year.
He's the fourth person we've had on here that said that about the cold winters.
Yep.
A lot of the guys from our area, we've been talking about it. Those really snowy, especially late winters, this time of year.
Yep.
The hot ones don't seem to do as well early season.
Yep. I think a lot of it's freshwater volume pumping out, so you don't get nearly the plankton production and all that stuff in a lot of the inshore fisheries. So you don't have a lot of that small bait.
Yeah.
That adds reason to the theory because someone else was talking about that. The flow of the water coming out.
Yep.
And then I was like, well, what is it? That totally makes sense.
The freshwater lowering and salinity, so you get more of that sort of green algae on top, and it starts the whole cycle.
Yeah.
When those small tuna first showed up in those big years early on, small tuna, those were all freezing cold winters.
Yeah.
Water would be 32, 33, 34 degrees, and now it's 40.
Yeah, I think it's 42 when I saw it the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like you said, every year's a curveball. And then last year, talk about a tale of two summers between last year and the year before. Last year, there was absolutely no rain. I felt like it was really hot. Not even hot, but just no rain. Whereas the year before, it rained every day.
Yeah, and every weekend, for sure.
Every weekend, for sure, yeah. Which was nice. Yeah. Nice for us.
Yeah. I don't mind fishing in the rain at all.
No, less boats on the water. Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
Well, you don't have quite the boat traffic out there in Gloucester that we get around here, right?
No, I haven't driven my boat past the jetties in the Merrimack in probably 15 years because I just couldn't take it anymore.
Dude, it's a weekend. Yeah, it's insane.
It's just too much for me.
Dude, there are days from the tip of the jetty to my boat, which is at the Route 1 bridge pretty much, where it'll take me 45 minutes to get in.
Oh, my God.
Just because of the traffic and the no-wake zones and just the utter madness.
Yeah, I'll burn the extra 20 gallons of gas when I'm fishing up north to run all the way around Cape Ann and go back in the Gloucester Harbor side so I don't have to drive with a bunch of people up the Innisquam on a Saturday or a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, no way.
Forget it.
Forget it.
Nope.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's also, I think, a much nicer drive going around Cape Ann. A lot more to look at.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sure clients
fun.
appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you get the
Quite the
lighthouses, you get those picturesque New England rocky shorelines. Yeah.
Waves breaking up.
Beautiful houses that I'll never own.
Yeah.
And the alternative is a bunch of like drunk college kids in a 13-foot whaler, you know.
Yeah.
Crank and wrap too.
Yeah,
So you get
exactly.
behind them in the line.
With like a 10-to-1 guy to girl ratio.
Exactly.
Yep. They're definitely using banana boat. That's awesome.
Jesus, man, Nat, I think we could talk to you all day.
Yeah, we could go for days on the fishing stories. for
Yeah.
sure, but,
We're kind of at 2 hours right now.
are we really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
We got a long ride back. We're going to have to do this again.
Absolutely love to anytime.
All right. So,
that was
guys,
awesome.
Nat Moody, you want to tell them about your website, your charter business?
Night Heron Fishing is the website. Night Heron Fishing is the Instagram. And that's fishing out of Gloucester, Cape Ann Marina.
All right, man.
Bring on year 28.
Awesome.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming out tonight, honestly. It's great to hear those stories. It's fun stuff.
Always good to talk fishing.
Yeah, definitely.
Great stuff, guys. And, actually, while we're at it, April 29th, we have the Anglers Expo down at the Newburyport Elks Club, 9:30 to 1:30. So come on in, bunch of stuff for sale. We got some local companies. We got a bunch of used gear, raffle prizes. Be a good time to kick off the season. So April 29th, if you're interested, come on down. Mouths of the Merrimack. Dan, you got anything you want to add?
No, just hope to see you there. It's going to be a great time. We have how many tables?
Right now we got 26, so we got a couple more.
So there
space
are
for a couple more.
it's a couple more tables available if anyone is interested in selling some of their gear. It's going to be an awesome time, and I always make out with all the deals because I'm the first one there. So
You got to get there before Dan.
come on down.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again, Nat. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome.